A year later, the main character remembered her past life. She found herself in a novel that she read on the recommendation of a friend. The novella is considered to have a happy ending. The main character of the first part defeats the villain and marries the main character. The villain dies in exactly the pain she deserves. Over time, everyone forgets about her, so as not to be attached to the memories. The main characters have children and live happily ever after. The woman sits in captivity, repeating how much she misses the Duke. Ironically, the novel's happy ending is quite controversial. The villain at the beginning was the wife of the main character, whom she loved very much. The couple lived in a happy marriage for about 3 years, and they did not have any adversity because love will overcome everything. This was supposed to end well. The protagonist came to the mansion as a servant, and the Duke falls in love with her. They begin a secret romance that develops into something more. The lady, shrouded in the darkness of betrayal, does not understand how this could happen. His lordship could not do this to his wife. Betrayed by her husband, the woman desperately tried to protect her love and position as the Duchess. Roman favored her death because the man did not appreciate her efforts. The girl was imprisoned in a tower, but she was no longer alone. The fruit of their love, which is the main character of the story, began to form in the womb. As usual, the beauty stands near the window, sniffling. She remembers how it shone every second, repeating his name over and over again. The girl's mother yearns for her ex-husband all day long, except when she feeds the baby. She does not forget about her mother's responsibilities. The girl tried to understand the woman, but never reached the same level as her. There is nothing good about a man who abandoned his own wife and child. The heroine is scared that she will have to live in this tower for the rest of her life just because she is the daughter of a villain. Unlucky to be reborn in a low-grade romance. In these dark thoughts, life flew by in the blink of an eye. As soon as the baby learned to walk, she was separated from her mother. Until her daughter's departure, the lady was obsessed with the Duke, and not with her, as if completely ignoring everything. The heroine was sent to an imperial orphanage where she belonged. Life in this place was so difficult that over time the heroine began to miss the tower. Everyone around believed that Daphne was the same as her mother, and tried to starve her to death. At least the mother took care of the girl's nutrition, and now it's not even clear what will happen. This makes the baby terribly sad, as the unknown is frightening. If the lady did not have memories of her past life, she would have given up long ago. It is normal for a child to shed tears for days on end. Hurting words and comparisons are much worse than ignoring and unfriendly attitude. I don't want to get used to something like this, but for now, I definitely have to. The caretaker of the orphanage turned out to be a real villain. He saw everything and gave unspoken consent which freed the children's hands. Nobody felt guilty. By the time the girl got used to her fate, a new girl came to work at the shelter, who at first glance seemed nice. Unlike others, this beautiful lady made a good impression, as she was quite friendly, as if she needed something. The maiden secretly brought sweets and talked about how beautiful Daphne was. She treated her kindly, as if she were her mother. There was at least someone sane in this shelter, which already pleased and warmed the soul of the young girl. All I could do was pray that this would continue forever. The daughter of a villain cannot hope for a quiet life. The knights brought the girl to the tower to look at her mother for the last time. The last meeting must take place. Daphne doesn't believe it. No one can wish her well just like that, without some partial benefit. It is impossible for a person who is just missing his husband to remember his child. But no matter how bad things were, the woman fed the baby when she cried, and her hugs were warm enough to forget hunger and her plight. The memories will always remain, but now, entering the main hall, the little girl freezes. In front of her on the bed lies a very thin and pale mother. The woman breathes heavily, trying to turn around, but nothing comes out, until the last moment she calls out to her beloved. All this time, when the heroine was beaten and scolded, she endured. If you think that the mother never remembered her daughter even once, it becomes much more painful. The Duke turned out to be a brat. He forgot about his family and now lives happily ever after. The lady doesn't quite understand this. Still, the pain caused by indifference is incomparable to anything. Smiling, the girl gathers all her strength and says her name. No one gave a name, so she named herself in a similar vein. The lady remains silent. The mother will silently look into the eyes, similar to her father's, and again yearn for the husband who abandoned her. The girl decides to show favor. She understands that the woman dreamed of becoming her father's wife, not her mother, so she doesn't put any pressure on her. It's better to sleep and not wait for that man. The woman opens her mouth to say something, but her eyes close and her hand weakens, hanging in her daughter's palm. She won't answer anymore. The knight covers the girl's face with a handkerchief. Tears well up in your eyes, even if you want to stay strong. After all, the main character is just a child. The girl tries to stop while she is being pulled somewhere again. They will never see each other again, and even if the last meeting was painful, this does not mean that it is less significant. Still, stopping already on the stairs, Daphne asks the master what will happen to her mother after what happened. She really wants to know. Obviously, the hero did not expect to hear such a question. The baby is a 7-year-old child who does not yet understand what death is and what comes after it. Thinking about something for just a second, the young man suddenly says that the woman will go to hell because of all the deeds that she managed to commit. Leading the girl down again, he asks her to never do anything bad and live right. Otherwise, the heroine will end up just like the villainess in the tower. The people who were the first to act badly towards the lady were the main characters. They had an affair in secret from their mother, the Duke's real wife. Mom treated them terribly, but she didn't deserve worse. The looks that burned through the child that day were full of anger. Surely each of them condemned the lady. She didn't want to be treated like that. One thing is certain. No one showed sympathy. The child had just lost a loved one, but no one cared because everyone cares about themselves. Now Daphne's mother will go down in history as a villain, and she must prepare for the tragic end that awaits her. According to the plot, after the death of the negative heroine, the girl will be beaten to death. Fate has already been prepared, and it will be extremely difficult to change it. The knight interrupts his thoughts, continuing to pull the beauty outside. She falls to the ground, and instead of help, she simply hears whispers of condemnation from all sides around her. For a lady, real monsters are all around. These are adults who end up not even caring for the child properly and just continue to behave inappropriately. Yulin rushes forward, asking her ward if everything is okay. She noticed how the baby was sitting on the ground, so she could not stand aside. The child fell and no one helped her. Yulin is furious because the baby has torn up her knees, which need to be treated quickly. The girl calls her back to the shelter. If she came back, she would die, even if you think about the fact that death was only mentioned in one line. It was never mentioned who beat her or how exactly. Before Daphne goes back to the orphanage, she needs to meet someone. She sees a man with dark hair in front of her. A large build and dark blue hair the color of the night sky, as well as a sharp chin, hint or rather shout about the person. Sparkling golden eyes, which the girl had previously seen only in the mirror, glow opposite, making the heroine think. This man is the biological father of the girl who realized this too late. They look at each other. The child does not like the man, but this is the only lifeline. If the baby disappears from his sight, she may die tomorrow. They tell him that this is his daughter, or rather the daughter of the villainous Frayne. The look immediately reveals the hatred that flows through the veins. I want to start swearing, but it would be quite stupid for the beauty to miss her chance. She must survive. Daphne reaches out to her father, calling him by name, but he turns away in disgust. According to him, this is not his child. The woman who even hired someone to harm Ulysse could not pay for the services. Most likely, she suggested something else. There is no point in being called the child of a duke without knowing what kind of blood flows in her veins. It would be best for her to remain silent. Walking further, the young man stops in front of the stretcher. The knight says that the woman's death has been confirmed, so they will deal with the body further themselves. The brunette came for the last time to witness death for the last time. He did not pay attention to the fact that the girl used to be his wife. Frayne was unhappy until her last breath. This is precisely the plot and such an ending that is destined for the villain who lost the story. Yulin led the baby to the gate. They return to the terrible shelter again, where they continue to prevent her from living a normal life. Going inside, the beauty calls her friend, but she exhales angrily. She thought this was a great opportunity to change her life. Hopes turned out to be empty. No matter how hard the woman tried, nothing worked, and now she reproaches herself and the girl for what happened. Yulin stayed close to Daphne, thinking that she could live comfortably as a nanny in the ducal family. That's why she was kind to the baby, and then the realization comes to her. What happened is really annoying, but no one knows what to do next. The brunette chuckles right in your face. The children standing behind begin to laugh. They heard that the villainess has finally died, which is good news because that's what everyone is saying. The baby holds back, but squeezes her hands as hard as she can. She cannot do anything because she is helpless. It's best to just ignore everyone around her the same way she usually does, but they continue to stop the beauty. They say that the Duke killed the girl's mother. She turns sharply and freezes. I would like to know all the details that were unavailable until now. The children continue to laugh. The father kept the woman locked up and not given normal conditions until she eventually died. She and her mother were not the worst, so it is extremely difficult to tolerate this. If you get angry now, there will be bad consequences. The eyes suddenly open. The beauty realizes belatedly that in this case she should not try to hold back. I don't want to get involved because they are just children, but these people get into trouble. They deliberately say offensive things, as if testing their strength. Still deciding to say at least some words, Daphne asks if her situation is worse than that of the other guys. Everything is different with them. The brunette does not behave this way for the sake of anything. Better watch what is said, otherwise she will get what she deserves over time. Then the little girl gets ready to go to her room so as not to incite a conflict, but Yulin stops her. She couldn't say that to her friends. The woman had previously been silent, but now she decided to speak out, although it is best to do this in relation to others. The attack is on the wrong person. Daphne went to her room. She was ordered to think about her behavior, which should be corrected as quickly as possible. Now the girl understands what it means to be an orphan. The mother died, being a villain in the eyes of society, and the Duke does not consider the beauty his child at all. At first, the girl thought that she wouldn't care, and would be able to withstand everything, but in reality it turned out that this was a mistake. Theoretical questions are always like this. The feeling, as if tears are nearby, overtakes at the most inopportune moment. There are people around who criticize a person, children who bully, employees who insult, and a director who pretends that everything is fine. Nobody knows, but one of them will definitely beat the lady to death. She can't sit and wait with her hands folded. The beauty falls asleep in bad thoughts. She didn't notice how evening had fallen outside, so she looks out the window. About to get out of bed, the lady slows down. She hears strange sounds as if people are going upstairs to her. It's Yulin again. As the elders said, the lady spoils her ward too much, so it is best to impose some kind of punishment. Daphne did not realize her mistake and did not repent, so tomorrow she will go with the brunette to where she is told without questions. When many people scold the girl, everything will finally become clear. When she goes outside, the woman lines the boxes up so that she doesn't escape. Panic begins almost immediately. The woman is going to take the main character somewhere, and most likely she will die there if she fails to escape. The girl collects a set of things provided to the orphanage. This includes some clothes, some worn-out shoes, and a pair of hair garters. It's sad to know that you have to live like this. There is nothing in this suitcase that really belongs to the girl. Previously, for some reason, the child put up with such an attitude, but everything made sense. If she had managed to escape, she would never have said goodbye to Frayne. If the beauty follows her mother, then after a while, a story will begin in which the sweet heroine of the first part will grow up in peace and happiness. The girl will run away from home and go to a neighboring empire in search of adventure, where she will meet a friend. Next, the love story begins. A happy ending awaits this couple. It can't even be any other way because they are the main ones in this book, which has already begun. The death of the villains ensures this ending. Good things await those who have done terrible things just because they are the main characters. You don't want to watch what's happening, so the little girl will change the course of events so that the story doesn't go down the same path. If you leave everything as it is, fate will take over. But if you change history, you will be able to avoid the fate of the villain. The heroine will not allow herself to be broken in the same way as they once did to her mother. She bandages her leg because it hurts a lot due to the fall. Moving the bed to the side to look at the door, the baby still notices it. It leads directly to the storage room, which was closed. Unlike other children, the heroine lives in a room completely alone. If she had been left with other people, there would have been problems. It was for this reason that she was given a separate room. Obviously, this is a way to isolate the villain from everyone else. If the girl manages to open the door to the room from her pantry, then she can easily get outside. This is exactly what she needs so badly. The plan was drawn up, so the beauty returned to the second part of the story. There is confidence that there is information that will help. The main character of the second book enters the house of a high-ranking lady in an attempt to rob her estate. The boy's plans quickly collapse, and he himself does not notice how he falls into a trap. He is grabbed almost immediately. The lady, impressed, appoints the young man as successor. He meets with the main character to go through many adventures and then find happiness. First of all, the hero should never end up in that place. This is how the likelihood of a happy ending will decrease. We need to find a place where we can live, changing the course of history. We must avoid meeting them as much as possible. The person who can protect Daphne, even if only temporarily, is the one who will become the protagonist's stepmother, Chloe Benedito. It is important to prove your importance. There is a reason why the woman adopted the boy. She wanted to use him as a weapon for revenge in her plans. The girl once lived in the same orphanage and was then sold to the black market. This act was committed by the caretaker. Chloe has overcome adversity to rise to the top of the Benedito family. The best option was a place involved with horror. According to the novel, the caretaker kept documents proving his machinations. The main characters later went on a search. The girl decided that as soon as everyone fell asleep, she would go for the papers. She will be able to escape and make a deal. An hour later, the bell rang. The sound means that it is already midnight, which means you can begin to act and go to work. Daphne turned out to be quite smart. She had to wrap pieces of cloth around her arms and legs so as not to make any sounds. The girl goes to the director's office. She is incredibly lucky because no one is standing guard near the entrance. Quietly entering inside, the beauty closes the doors behind her and is immediately surprised. There are millions of luxury items around that are useless. This man now seems even more extravagant. Perhaps he was able to receive money from another sponsor besides the Empire. There's no time to think about everything that is happening. You need to quickly find documents before no one comes, and that's all that occupies your thoughts. There was nothing in the first box, so the maiden moved to the second, which was also empty. The last drawer is locked. For some reason, it never opened even after trying. There is no key nearby, so we have to start searching before it's too late. The main character of the novel is quite strong, so he probably opened the box without a key. However, the Virgin herself cannot do this because she is too weak. Sighing, the heroine is going to calmly think it over. The caretaker is an extremely absent-minded person, so he might have forgotten something. The director is someone who doesn't like to move around much, so this is definitely not on the back of the bookshelf. You need to think about minimizing movements. Surely the necessary thing is in one of the flower pots near the table. There simply cannot be any other options. The man is left-handed. The girl watched him and quickly realized this, so she looks in the right pot. There turns out to be a golden key that is needed. Inspecting the documents that fell into her hands, the girl chuckles. She does not understand what is written there because she has not mastered the alphabet of the new world. Putting the paper in her bag, the beauty exhales with relief. It doesn't matter what's in them, because there are quite a lot of pieces of paper that will help in the future. The eyes notice a strange seal. Since it is hidden in a place like this, it is definitely of great value. Even that needs to be taken away. Strange steps are heard in the corridor, which drives the beauty into panic. If anyone finds out that she is trying to escape, they will simply kill her. At the last moment, Daphne hides. Two people enter the office and discuss where Eunice is going to take her ward. The brunette assures that the girl will not die, even if the person she takes her to finds out about purple hair, the same as Frayn's. There is no one to take care of the child anyway, so it doesn't matter. The director freezes, as if he suddenly noticed something below. The girl already thought that she was caught, but the young man directs his attention to Eunice, saying that she is beautiful. These two are in a relationship. The woman does not want to be alone in this place because it is cold and dark. I want to get into a warm bed where they can do everything. In such disputes, the couple left. Her whole life literally flashed before the eyes of the child, who was very frightened. There was no time left to think. You need to hurry up and leave so as not to run into anyone on the way out. The lady follows forward through the office. A lamp is visible in the distance. The adults said that they fill the lamps with oil and store them in the warehouse, so there are many more of them. Quitting just doesn't seem like a great idea anymore. The plan is being adjusted. The clothes are lying on the bed as if the lady slept there. The shoes were also placed in front of the door. This should definitely work so that everyone believes in Daphne's idea. The main thing is that no one notices anything, and if you cover your tracks well, everything will be wonderful. The time is coming to say goodbye to the shelter. A new life begins, but the heroine makes a promise to herself that she will survive. The beginning of the story will be changed because the beauty will not sit and wait in the wings. The lamps were in the pantry. These are really the only things because nothing else was ever released. Now their time has come. There is a lot of oil, so it will be possible to create a fire in which even all the bones will burn. No one will be able to figure out Daphne. Everyone will decide that the girl is dead, and then her life will be much calmer when no one knows her identity. A match with fire flies to the floor. Now that the villainess's daughter is dead, the caretaker will be held accountable, and the children's benefits will be reduced several times. Even with this development of events, the beauty still does not feel guilty about anything. The blame lies entirely with those who work there. As soon as the heroine is forgotten, she will come back. From now on, complete chaos will begin in the shelter, which will be impossible to stop. No one walks the streets at night, so the lady quickly reached Benedito's secret door. She is in the hedge behind the bushes. According to the story in the novel, only clients who came on secret business could pass through this door. Nobody else knew the password. You need to pretend to be such a client and just give the password. If the heroine's memory does not fail her, she must guess everything correctly. Everything turned out to be correct. She knocks on the wall 3 times in the right rhythm, and then the bricks begin to move to the side. There's no one inside. Then the lamps are burning, so the heroine decides that it is worth going forward. Below you can see a light, and a man who is surprised to notice that a child has entered the estate. The guy's voice is very soft and as beautiful as his appearance. He asks again, as if he were asking someone else, where the child came from. The girl immediately gets down to business. She came to meet the owner of the trade guild. This is not the kind of person you can meet so easily. The young man refuses. He asks to get out so as not to give up now. Virgo takes in more air into her lungs. She screams that she wants a deal. The next words are already on the way. The man's head begins to spin from loud sounds, but he is unable to calm the child down just like that. A few minutes later, Chloe comes downstairs, frowning. Someone caused a commotion in the middle of the night. It couldn't be a man. The young man points down. Looking down, the lady notices Daphne, who again repeats that she has come to make a deal with the head. The child wants to say something, but it is not yet clear what exactly she needs. She asks to be accepted into the trade guild. If it's the right thing, she'll pay it back. The next second, the heroine hands over the papers. She heard the caretaker of the orphanage say that these documents should not fall into Benedito's hands. Mother chuckles. She doesn't know why the girl came or how she found the documents, but she's not sure it's anything worth looking into. Children from the slums can do this work too, and perhaps they will be even faster. The lady expresses her dissatisfaction. The heroine does not understand how this could happen. The main characters stole the documents because Chloe really needed them. The girl switches the topic to her hair and its color, which is quite rare. The eyebrows still continue to frown. In this empire, you really don't see this color as often as you would like. At first glance, it is clear that the beauty is Frayne's daughter. Damage is all Chloe can get from this child. She asks to go back while she speaks in a good way. Virgo turns away. Obviously, this woman turned out to be more terrible than at the very beginning. She also wants death, because the child is the daughter of a villain. Screaming, the lady assures that she will definitely survive. The couple is distracted because there is a commotion outside. They say that there was a fire at the shelter. Mother asks to make sure the children are safe, but she is stopped. Daphne only set her room on fire to fake her death. If she returns, she will be killed. This is logical because the virgin is the one who needs to be punished. Changing the course of history is initially a difficult task. Everyone wants to die. But you can't let fate take over. Even Chloe refused, but there are other ways. The blonde suddenly changes her face, offering to start from the very beginning. Something has changed. The girl has become more supportive, so she asks what her interlocutor wants. Therein lies the motive. Daphne wants to survive, but Benedito is a man for whom manners are not an empty phrase. She wants to receive flowers and a proper greeting. There is a lot of snow outside. Lady will have to find a way to get the flowers because Chloe wouldn't accept something that could be easily discovered. Outside the city, there are places where flowers grow even in bad weather. There you can meet monsters and animals, since it is night outside. If you are unlucky, you can even die. But if the lady is also ready for anything, you need to find one red flower before dawn. This is a test to make sure your intentions are serious. The heroine nods her head, promising to collect at her discretion. The man catches up with Daphne. He offered her better shoes and also introduced himself as Lennox. A beautiful cloak also fell over his shoulders. The young man doesn't want the little girl to return to the estate with a cold. The path to the city gates is not close, so Lennox offers to take the beauty straight to the gate. It will be safer. It's really dangerous outside the city, so if anything happens, the lady must return. She cannot say no, because otherwise she will die. The heroine chose to be in the mountains, where there were not a single soul, because everyone who was around before did not miss the opportunity to make fun of her. This guy should not force himself and sympathize with such a person. Disappointment is visible in the eyes. Half an hour later, the couple arrived at the gate. All that remains is to marry them, and then the girl will find herself outside the city, right in the forest. For the last time, the young man decides to ask if the heroine would like to stop before it's too late. She shakes her head, disagreeing. The lady runs forward along the path. She had thought about this before, but something like this was beyond what she had imagined before. It's too dark and quiet around. It seems as if there is not a single soul around in this whole wide world. For a while, the girl heard only the sounds of her steps. But very soon, everything changed greatly. You can hear a growl right behind you. There's a wolf behind. I don't want to believe it, because it only means more trouble. Taking off from her spot, the beauty runs into the distance. On one of the bumps on the path, the girl catches her shoe. The leg gives way to one side, and then a fall follows. Sitting down on her knees, the lady examines her leg. She's in a lot of pain, and maybe that's it, but it feels like this is her limit. There is no strength to continue the journey further. Tears flow down your cheeks. The beauty came to survive, but in the end it is obvious that the place will become a grave. A butterfly is visible in the distance. The beautiful lilac color immediately attracts the attention of Daphne sitting on the ground. Surprisingly, in this area, butterflies can be found even in winter, even if this is usually unrealistic. She flutters around. Perhaps the moth is diligently trying to show the way, but you shouldn't trust it right away. The color seems very familiar. The purple is not too faded, but resembles the hair of the heroine herself. It's a little darker, which already gives a clue. This reminds me of Frayne. She looks like a butterfly, but was abandoned by the man she loved. Mother spent the rest of her days in captivity. I want to believe in the best, but the lady is not sure whether Mom could go to heaven after everything she has done. She didn't consider her a villain. Still, following the moth, the young lady asks forgiveness for the wait. They go out to a rock over which the full moon hangs, and on it are the very necessary flowers. The desired flower is quite high, but the baby is sure that if she is extremely careful, she will definitely be able to get there without problems. Climbing out to the top, the girl notices the fact that the soil has collapsed a little. You should be a lot more careful on the way back to the estate. Being on the same level with the plant, the heroine reaches forward, hoping that everything will work out. The hand finally grabs the bright stem. A smile appears on your face instantly. Daphne managed to make the impossible possible. I want to jump for joy because success is close. The beauty thanks the mother-like butterfly for her help in helping her come to the flower. Suddenly, the ground collapses under your feet. Lennox nevertheless went in search of a new acquaintance. It was reckless to let the child go, and he notices how she quickly flies to the ground from the slope. Thoughts are mixed up. The injured leg hurts very much, making it impossible to concentrate on anything. A picture floats before my eyes. It is impossible to die. The lady worked hard to get the plant and can't let it all end just like that. It's hard to breathe and my body hurts a lot. The lady thinks the end has already come, but wakes up in a soft bed, clutching her throat, which is being pressed. A young man with beautiful pink hair holds out a glass of warm water. The smile seems friendly, and he asks how you are feeling. The girl fell from a cliff, and Lennox brought her body to the estate. The flower had already been handed over to Chloe. To begin with, you should introduce yourself properly. His name is Riccardo Benedito. He looked after Daphne for several days. At the beginning, I felt lousy, but after a while, the temperature subsided. The leg still needs treatment. The beauty has absolutely no strength, and she does not understand whether she will be able to walk further. The unknown is very scary. The girl was hurt, but everything will be fine. From now on, the young man will become her brother, which, of course, is not the best option, so she jumps to the side. Benedito, walking out the door, asks what "no" means. The girl looks better, although initially she was asked to bring a flower and not return crippled. Thanks to the whole situation, the woman was very worried. It is worth being a little softer with someone who has also suffered very much, without paying attention to it. In the novel, the blonde was described as a cold person who knew no doubts or remorse. She was portrayed as very vindictive and cruel. After all, what is written in books is not always true. Virgo sits down next to her, saying that first of all, she wants to at least apologize. The girl walked out of the gate looking frightened and tired. Chloe didn't even hope that she would be able to do anything. After all, the flower is now on the estate. The plant is called station and has pain-relieving properties. They only grow on rocks, and it is very difficult to grow them yourself. 100 zlotys is a good profit, as for a flower, but it is not so expensive that you shouldn't give it as a gift. It's amazing how Daphne made the impossible possible. The girl managed to win this deal, and since Benedetto received both the documents and the flower, she must listen to the conditions that her new acquaintance will set. The blonde doesn't want to ask for too much, but asks to be made the new successor to the merchant guild that Benedetto runs. Requests have increased, and this seems too much, but the maiden quickly clarifies that the guild itself is not important to her. She just needs to get the status of heiress that she will be given. If the baby becomes the successor, even the main character will not be able to do anything, and this is how it will be possible to change the course of history in its entirety. If you need strength, then it's easier to enlist the support of Chloe herself. This is not the most important thing because the young lady wants to change the ending in full. After the villainess dies, her daughter must also die because it symbolizes a happy ending for everyone else, including the main characters. I don't want to blindly follow people's wishes. They can do what they want themselves, but the heroine herself does not want to live in such a way. The blonde promises herself that she will write her own story. She will do everything to make fate happier than that of everyone else for whom this is destined. Even if there is no chance in battle, you have to try. These are two loud statements, so the baby falls silent. She doesn't need anyone to notice that she's not a child. Chloe says she was sold into menial labor in a creepy place long before she could grow up. She went through a lot of adversity. All the lady's friends suffered a similar fate. Some died and some lived so hard that it would have been easier to die. It turned out that this often happened to the children of the orphanage, and the director was behind it. The lady decided to take revenge. Benedetto won't let the man get away with it. He has no right to sleep peacefully after what he did to the others. The woman worked hard to be able to punish the guy accordingly. Information from the papers will help. The lady needs the duke, and Chloe needs the headmaster so they can help each other. Everything will go strictly according to plan. If a child wants to work with the main guild, she must find out the price of things and learn how to make transactions. This is exactly what was said to the main character. Now the woman says all this to Daphne, which means only one thing. Obviously, she will be allowed to stay and become heir only by title. At first, the blonde thought of just being supportive, but she likes dreams, determination, and willpower. Good qualities are always important for an heiress and daughter. From now on, the lady will become part of the family, so she will be called Benedetto. It's an honorary name she deserves. Leaning closer, the girl hugs the baby, taking her to her. She exudes goodness and warmth, which was so lacking. Lennox was the first to decide to help Daphne. He carries the girl in his arms, and when she asks if it's hard for him, he nods in denial. The chair will not be ready soon, so there is still no other choice. You cannot walk on crutches. The lady doesn't know if she can trust the man. They are not a real family, so it is unclear if they are up to the same thing as Yulin. Distracting the girl from her thoughts, the young man talks about a new hair color. They are now snow white, just like the eyelashes and eyebrows. Hair may turn gray from shock. They've changed because of what happened, and it's Lennox's fault. The main thing is that the heroine is alive. The girl doesn't feel too sad. She has lost her mother's hair color, but she and Chloe now share the same features. Mother gave me a different color, as if she gave me a new life. This is where things get more interesting. The conversation is interrupted by Ricardo, who asks the family to go to the dining room. We have already prepared a lot of goodies and placed them on the table. The food here turned out to be completely different, not the same as in the shelter before. It even makes my mouth water. Chloe notices her daughter staring at the food. Perhaps she doesn't like her, or there is some other hidden reason. Assuring that everything is fine, the blonde gets ready to eat. In the beginning, she should know her responsibilities as someone who is in a guild. In exchange for the fact that the blonde gave shelter, of course, something needs to be done. There are only two simple conditions that need to be met. The first is related to the girl's body. She is too weak, so of course she is no good. Every effort must be made to change this. The second is finding hobbies that you want to do. It's worth coming up with at least 5 activities you like and telling Benedito about them. The blonde thought she would have to do the work, but that wasn't the case. All the conditions for becoming a successor turned out to be too simple. There is nothing more important than health, especially since the success of a business depends on how the trader wants to do everything in the best possible way. A girl must learn to achieve everything she wants, no matter what. You need to hide your desires, but first you should realize them. It is worth doing 2 things that mother asks. After the conversation ends, the lady takes out a briefcase from under the table. She forgot to give it back. The girl watches her thing in fascination. There's a seal there in her pocket, and she doesn't know if Chloe saw it. The blonde did not throw away the thing because she thought that it was of some value. Most likely she was right. Perhaps the lady is waiting for the seal to be given to her. This is a last resort item. If you think about it, Mother said earlier that a merchant should remain calm in any situation. Smiling, the beauty says, "Thank you." She didn't even think that her item would be saved, and when she says this, she is completely sincere. The heroine nods her head. It becomes clear that they are not going to show their trump card. This is exactly what Chloe's daughter should be. Benedito is about to leave. For now, Lennox will look after the girl, and Ricardo will definitely learn healing magic to help his sister. For now, the first thing the young man is going to do is fix the girl's hair. She cut them off while still at the shelter, as they were the subject of ridicule. Surely the baby was very scared, but the reason was also slightly different. She thought they were much worse than everyone else's because of the color. If you think about it, the beauty had more serious problems. The sentence is never finished because the young man begins to sob. It's strange that a person cries when it doesn't concern him. Another brother promised to study magic to cure the villain's daughter. This family has too many quirks. They are all trying to help a child whom they have known for only less than a month. They do this sincerely, unlike Yulin, but it is still worth issuing a warning. The girl is greedy, so you shouldn't treat her well. Slowly opening her eyes after sleep, the maiden hears the brothers discussing what happened. Lennox was confused and did not console his sister. Even Mother, who seemed not so kind, asks to show Daphne respect. The last trump card she keeps was returned to her. Everyone is so kind that you wish it were real. The next morning, the lady wakes up and realizes that while she was sleeping, she seemed to have heard the voices of a new family. Perhaps all that happened was just a simple dream. The dreams must have come to life in a dream, and it is no longer as wonderful as if it happened in reality. I want what happened to be real. You can ask questions, but you don't have the courage to do so. The heroine believes that she will only disturb everyone in vain. The blonde opens the door and enters the room, immediately putting on a smile. The daughter woke up quite quickly, which undoubtedly pleased her. The girl dreamed of something good, but she never felt confident about it. Benedito nods, wringing out the water from the towel. We can only hope that at least the next day we will have a good dream that will bring joy. This woman is truly kind. It feels like they really accepted the villain's daughter into their family. It is not clear why she was so lucky. Trying to hold back her tears, the little girl still falls through. She asks her mother why Lennox and Ricardo are so kind to her. These are the first people like them. The girl realizes that she said everything out loud. The lady will want to know why ask such a thing, but she may also say that she hates the girl for no reason. It's scary to realize what will happen. Taking Daphne in her arms, the lady carries her forward along the corridor. She managed to prepare a gift for her that would definitely be deserved. The blonde was brought into a beautiful, spacious room. In the middle there is a bed, which will now also belong to Benedito. The finger points to the closet in the corner. A lot of outfits have appeared there, so the girl will have something to dress up in. You don't have to worry about anything. There were a lot of useful things in the room. The lady prepared a table and bought a doll, which, if anything, could make a good company for the child. No matter how you look at it, the room was really decorated for Daphne. She begins to cry again, while assuring that she likes everything very much. The blonde doesn't understand why they treat her so well. The woman is so caring that it is difficult to believe in the reality of what is happening. At the very beginning, Benedito thought that she would be provided with everything she needed, and that's it. If the mother continues in the same spirit, she will not want to give anything away. Trying to calm the child, The girl assures that there is nothing to be afraid of. She didn't think it would be so difficult to accept care. The heroine simply does not know whether she has the right to accept everything that is given to her. The girl will not be able to bear it if she is once told that she is simply not loved. Deprived of the warmth and care that was given to her, the virgin will not be able to find the strength to live on. In the future, when the girl has a child, she will not want him to go through all this. She wishes him happiness in advance when she was little. The same goes for Chloe. She doesn't want this to happen, and she herself took a high position because she overcame many difficulties. It's even incredible that the daughter had to go through the same thing as the heroine herself. She didn't want Daphne to understand the cruelty of the world so early. Now the maiden is the child of this woman and can calmly go about her business while the others take care of the rest. This means that the blonde doesn't even have to do anything. Naturally, she is required to grow up healthy and happy. In order to live a good life in which there will be no worries, you need to try not to get sick, do whatever your heart desires, and enjoy everything around you. If you cope with difficulties, you can achieve what you want. Ricardo and Lennox are not going to inherit the Merchant Guild, so don't worry, because they won't be left behind. The little girl was afraid that she was taking a place from her older brothers, but in the end it turned out that there was nothing to be ashamed of. These words are something that the beauty did not even dare to dream about. Just one sentence warmed the young lady's heart incredibly. The tightly closed gate opened. "I can't believe that now a lady can receive love and everything that it brings in its wake." They said that Daphne is now part of their family. Now they will help each other on the path to their dreams, so there is no reason to give up love. The first wish is that it would be possible to call Chloe mother. It's not even a desire, but the girl was the first to start a relationship. Another wish is that Benedito would teach the child to write. I want this to be the head of the guild whom you can trust. It's worth pretending that the second wish didn't come out, because after all, the mother was going to do it sooner or later. Requests are useless. The brothers arrived to talk to their mother, but noticing the hug, they immediately joined. Ricardo tries to push Lennox away, bringing a smile to the heroine's face. Closing her eyes, the lady doesn't think about anything else. She just wants to say thank you to all of them for the way they treat her with such awe. A young man with dark violet eyes follows a slightly older man. They are both dressed in cloaks so that no one will notice them. Before dinner, Ricardo thought about how to make Daphne's life easier. He suggests leaving the house only when necessary. The girl will be lonely if everyone leaves. It was this thought that prompted the hero to such a conclusion. He wants the child to feel love and care. Chloe also joins in on such a task. She will complete all her overtime work at home instead of her office, at least for a while. Mother has changed a little. They began to take turns caring for the new family member, while trying to invest as much feeling as possible. Now the baby even began to smile more often. She rejoices every day, thanking God that now she is no longer alone. The girl is sitting at her books. She doesn't understand some task, but she's going to ask her mother when she comes back. It was 11 o'clock, usually bedtime. Today the maiden made a mess because she mixed up Rickard's cocoa with Lennox's coffee and drank the wrong drink. As a result, Mother got angry and severely scolded both of them. They immediately obediently lowered their heads, asking for forgiveness for not watching the baby as much as they should have. The girl could not sleep due to the effects of caffeine, so she continued to study in Chloe's office, but then she was called to the capital on an urgent matter. Now it becomes clear that Benedito will be delayed. The beauty is rubbing her neck, which is numb from long periods of studying in one place. The clock glows brightly when someone walks through it. It should be Mom, but two men in a raincoat come out. Virgo sees poorly, but understands that the moment has come for the appearance of the main character of the novel. For some reason, there are two guys, which complicates the task of understanding who is who. It is not clear whether what is happening is connected with the mystery that shrouds the man, but readers never received a detailed description. The brunette rushes forward, telling the other that he has caught the girl. The young man was caught trying to kill Chloe, but this man is not at all like the brief description. It was on this day that several partial matches with the original occurred. Since the lady accidentally drank coffee, she did not fall asleep until late at night, and Mother left for the capital. It seems that history is putting everything in its place, and the road to the outcome prepared for Frane's daughter is once again stretching. Grabbing the blade, the man forces the beauty to say where the head of the trade guild is. She is silent, so he decides to take action. A second later, screams calling for help are heard throughout the estate. The girl does not want to die just like that, and at such a moment. The brothers run into the office with lightning speed, but the brunette is in no hurry to let the girl go. He asks no one to come near, otherwise he is going to do harm. I don't want to believe that the freak who took the child hostage is the main character. A middle-aged boy stands aside as if he doesn't care. Ricardo orders his sister to be released, but of course no one listens to him. He casts a circle of magic around himself to show others that they shouldn't play with something like that. The wizard turned out to be quite good, so within a second his arms and legs were wrapped in chains. Daphne quickly flies to the floor. The girl is caught by Lennox at the last moment. He puts his hands up to keep his body from hitting the floor too hard. The couple is so distracted that they don't notice another boy attacking them behind them. A moment later, he, too, finds himself shackled in chains. Even when the young man was hanged, he did not make a sound. Everything looks secure, so the brother returns to the young lady to ask how she is feeling. It is truly dangerous to speak at such a moment. The virgin, widening her eyes, notices how behind them the same hero breaks the shackles on his hands and feet. I can't believe that this man was able to break the chain of magic. He approaches with incredible speed, and it seems that he is not targeting the heroine herself. The hero ran past those standing around, and instead of attacking them, he simply kills his partner. Horror is shown even on the faces of the elders. It's scary to realize that a person who just recently threatened others died so quickly. This doesn't make it any easier, because the person notices everyone else. The young man was about to do something, but in the end, Chloe arrived right on time and made him fly into the sky. The guys attacked Daphne. Even the arrival of Mother did not make it any easier, but dear people are now safe, so this realization makes it easier. Judging by the appearance, the hero is just a child. The beautiful violet eyes are reminiscent of the one described in the novel. This boy is definitely the main character of the second part of the novel. Now all doubts have finally disappeared, and instead, awareness has come. One way or another, the boy is no different from other killers. It's best to do the same to him as everyone else, for safety's sake. The story will not end if the main character dies. Then everything will end, but it is not clear whether this will be the right decision. The woman lowers the boy to the ground, telling the brothers that they should think things over carefully. You shouldn't make hasty conclusions. Mother would not have killed him. According to the original plot, he will become the successor, and it will be she who will be able to convince the young man with her words. Coming closer and smiling, the girl chuckles. Considering how scared Daphne was, the young man does not dare count on the quick death he deserves. The girl didn't think that her mother could have such an expression on her face and such a tone of voice. That is why admiration for the head will never cease. The plot has already changed. Everything began to change as soon as the beauty deliberately took the place of the main character. She understood exactly what she was getting into and what she was going to do. With the death of the guy, the original plot will end, but then the lady will become the same as the people she hates. This seems like an even worse ending. If any harm is done to the child, the beauty will blame herself for the rest of her life. Every time it is very difficult to watch the last minutes. According to the plot of the novel, the girl faces an extremely unfavorable end, but that's why she doesn't want to harm anyone. The blonde asks not to kill the young man. Even though this is the last opportunity to bring the novel to a close, I don't want to build happiness on someone else's grief. This will not lead to anything good. Everyone takes turns apologizing for exactly how they behaved. Everyone knew that Daphne was impressionable, but not that much. No one presses or judges for what is said. People around, on the contrary, are trying to say that they should follow an example for the future. The boy looks at the heroine again. There is a certain power in his eyes that gives you goosebumps. Something is definitely wrong. Addressing Ricardo, the beauty hints at oddities. You need to double-check so you don't accidentally regret it later. The check was successful. The blonde watched what was happening all this time and concluded that her eyes had changed a little. Daphne was right. The hero was under hypnosis, and the spell was cast very casually, as if the person didn't care. Chloe takes on an angry tone, which again shows how worried she is. The thugs dared to harm this boy. In any case, the family cannot leave the young man in this condition in the house. I remember a cage that is located in the forest for catching wild animals. Although the hero was under hypnosis, this does not immediately change his essence. It is worth finding out who is behind the assassination attempt, which was initially carried out on the head. It's good that no one was hurt. The girl looks around, realizing that this is now her new family, and they really get along well. The beauty chose this family herself, doing it consciously. In order to live a long and happy life with her family, she promises to change the plot. The story is quite confusing. Although the hero grew up here, the past of Benedito's trading guild was almost never mentioned. It is unknown what happened to them when he left his post as head to marry Maria. I want to protect even all of them from danger. It won't be possible to commit murder, so the little girl is going to surround the main character with care and win his favor. This way, it will be possible to change something. The girl finds herself back in her dream. She remembers how she couldn't move her legs, but now she's desperately running somewhere, as if she's late. The lady seems to be running away from someone. She turns around to look behind her but sees no one because there is impenetrable darkness all around. There is someone in the darkness, and this creature will soon grab the lady who, for some reason, is no longer completely able to move from her place. The blonde is trying to wake up the young mistress. His name is Winston Chesela, and he is the secretary to the head of the guild. The girl immediately says that she wants to go closer to the enclosure. She wants to see that same boy. Winston brought a chair. It had been prepared a long time ago, but no one had used it, judging by the fact that the man found it in the dressing room. The whole family has been lying all this time. They just took care of the girl because she seems too fragile and small. There's nothing terrible about it. The beauty was brought to the very forest in which, according to Chesela, there is an enclosure in which the boy is kept. He is safe. The young man never touched the food that had been prepared for him a little earlier. It's dark inside, so it's quite difficult to tell if anyone is there. They didn't see the hero because he hid in the very corner. His head is lowered into his knees, and he seems too sad about everything that is happening. The stomach makes a plaintive sound, but the young man does nothing. He was trained during brainwashing, so he would not dare to disobey this order. This is precisely the reason why the handsome man did not touch the food. The lady involuntarily remembers herself in the shelter. Even when the table was laden with dishes, she was given meager food, and if she ate something, pain from the blows followed. The beauty wants the brunette to eat, but does not know how exactly to bring her plans into reality. She asks the man to drive her a little closer to the cage. The girl wants to feed him herself, even if it is dangerous. The rumbling of the stomach was too loud, and the hero does not eat, despite being very hungry. The boy could have been scared of an adult stranger. You shouldn't stick your hands into the enclosure, but in general, everything is possible. Coming closer, the lady looks at her new friend. As soon as the lady says hello and smiles, she notices a hostile look that burns right through her. The heroine can't just throw a sandwich at him, so she's going to smile and act as carefully as possible. It was kindness that helped even Daphne herself. She asks why the boy is not eating. If he continues to behave this way, he will lose strength and will not even be able to escape. Everything seems to be starting to work. The lady puts the plate behind the bars. She just wants the baby to eat deliciously because she herself knows what hunger is. Water also appears next to the plate, and after this sign, the brunette grabs the food and begins to quickly devour the sandwich. He is really very hungry. Still, the lady is glad that her new friend ate wonderfully. He needed strength to feel a little better than before. The girl promised that she would not stick her hands into the enclosure, but something went wrong. Before leaving, she plans to leave a blanket to keep the baby warm. Winter is not over yet, so it's better to take shelter to avoid getting sick. Next time the lady promises to bring more goodies. At the next meeting, the heroine asks to name the name. She will say her own thing in response, and this way you will be able to get to know each other. While the couple walked away, the brunette watched them carefully. He doesn't understand what's going on inside him. But for some reason, a strange feeling has appeared that it's impossible to get rid of. At the table, Chloe refused. She does not allow him to visit the boy anymore because he was being raised to be someone who is ready to kill others on order. The girl did not expect her mother to be so adamant. The first thing you need to do is get close to the hero in order to get at least some benefit. If the blonde doesn't come again, the guy will most likely continue to starve. This cannot be allowed, so she resolutely gathers her thoughts together. There definitely must be a way to convince Benedito. Even Ricardo is touched by how kindly his sister treats others. Don't worry about that kind of thing. It's time to use your second wish. The beauty wants to communicate with this child on an ongoing basis. The boy is still too small. He won't eat again like he did before unless the girl watches it well. The girl promises that she will not walk alone and will not enter the cage. If he tries to do harm, she will certainly give in. The blonde really feels sorry for the baby, who is not to blame for anything. Still, she is allowed to do as she wants. The next morning, the beauty arrived at the cage. Ricardo took her there. She points her finger forward. Take her straight ahead. The young man sits sad, but as soon as he sees his girlfriend, his face lights up. He looks a lot like a puppy who has been waiting for his owner all day after work. Sighing, the lady turns her gaze to the pasta, which stands near the rods. The guy hasn't eaten again, so he might have to go straight into the cage. Ricardo does not allow him to go down to the ground, but his sister reminds him that she saw him take a pillow and a blanket. The young man also packed mittens and a scarf to keep him warm. The most important thing is hot cocoa, which has become a favorite. With glowing eyes, the little brother asks if Daphne is happy, and she nods. The lady accepts the drink because she cannot say that she does not like it, simply because the taste is too sweet. The man prepared it with diligence. Laying out all the warm clothes on the ground, the blonde comes closer. The young man's eyes run intently over what he sees in front of him. He examines with such curiosity something that he most likely has not seen before. All this time, the boy was under magical control. It's worth trying to find out more information. The pillow flies to the ground, but closer, and then the beauty asks for help moving to the right place. Sitting down on the soft surface, the blonde greets the brunette once again. Now they are finally a little closer than they were before. The question about hunger is not worth asking, because it is rhetorical. The girl brought warm soup and soft bread, as well as some various fruits. The baby asks if the friend would like to try the food, to which he actively nods. Unfortunately, she cannot give it just like that. Lowering his sad eyes, full of humility, the brunette allows himself to be beaten only in order to receive goodies in the end. It's strange, but why do something like this with a child? Because he didn't even eat what was prepared in the evening. There was a truth serum that was added for further interrogation. Surprise takes the beauty by surprise. The brunette discovered the serum just by its smell, which is almost invisible. The lady decides to ask about memories from a past place. I would like to know where the guy lived, how he was fed, and how exactly he was treated. After thinking for just a few seconds, the boy says he was hit, kicked, and yelled at. For any offense, the punishment was only doubled. This hero really had such a difficult past. If everything had happened in the novel, the young man could have lived peacefully if his mother had not abandoned him. The hero was treated worse than Daphne, and they wanted to make him a murderer at that age. The lady should rejoice at his misfortune, because he did not kill her, but nothing comes of it. Somehow this couple looks alike. They themselves do not notice how exactly it works, but they are sure that it is true. The girl won't be able to cause pain because she's not that strong. She must do something to provide food anyway, just like she said. Last time the beauty asked to tell her name when they meet again. The time has come to fulfill the promise. The name is already known from the novel, but I want to turn to it after the character himself says everything. The boy's name is Ragnar. A smile stretches across the heroine's face. She is sure that this name is very beautiful and understands that the moment has come to call him that for the first time. This will be the first step towards rapprochement. The girl with a surprised expression on her face watches as the boy eats everything offered at the speed of light. The guy was very hungry, but now, after finishing the meal, he finally thanks for what was offered. It was delicious for him. Noticing the man behind Daphne, the young man begins to hiccup. He is so big because he is an adult, and he will probably also use force, which is incredibly frightening. Ricardo is not scary at all, so he doesn't understand what the young man is so afraid of. He blinks his eyes in surprise. Turning to the tall guy, the girl examines her brother again. Most likely he was scared by how tall the young man was, but he needed to figure out how to change that. It seems that the boy calmed down a little after the heroine herself tried to explain everything. He removes his hand from his mouth and lowers it down. Ragnar hates big people. He was constantly punished, so he developed a fear of those who do not even regret doing anything. Until this moment, Daphne understood that they were similar, but not that much. She realizes that they are identical to each other. The heroine wants the brunette to learn about the good side of the world. She pours cocoa into a cup, saying that it is the most delicious and hot drink in the world. The blonde knows that she is not telling the truth, but she tries. It's her favorite drink, but she's going to give it to a new friend who needs it. The young man does not understand whether he can really drink what was offered. In this case, you need to agree to everything that is possible, if it is from good people. The girl apologizes for giving the cocoa she prepared to Ricardo, but he promises to make a new one. The brunette shouts in surprise that it's delicious. Daphne smiles. He is so simple and sweet that you want to hug him. The boy asks the young lady why she is staring so intently. I think it's because of his eyes. Everyone says they are disgusting, but these are not true. The eyes look unusual due to the vertical pupils like those of a reptile. There is something special about the pupils, and this is the honest truth. The lady asks Ragnar to look at his feet to ask something. Due to the fall, the beauty cannot walk, so she gets around with the help of a wheelchair. The boy carefully examines the bandages. It can't be disgusting. The lady wants to hear the answer she needs, so she smiles slowly, looking intently ahead. The girl also thinks that the eyes are not disgusting. She likes the color purple, so she asks to look at his eyes a little longer. When the young man is safe, everything will be even better. The lady would like to admire them often, so she will come to the cage every day. A blush appears on the cheeks. The boy cannot believe that his first friend in his life will come to him every day and look at his eyes, which are disgusting to everyone. A week has passed since we met. Lennox was unable to use the serum as the young man felt everything. That's why the blonde came up with her own method. They play a new question and answer game that even the hostage enjoys. The interrogation turned into a game, and it was in this way that the lady learned the name of Ragnar, as well as the location of the group of assassins where he was located. It was too late, because when the guild arrived there was no one left there. On a new day, the young man was the first to ask how the lady lost the ability to walk. When the girl tried to get a flower on a rock, it so happened that she fell from there, almost breaking. She weaves a purple plant into her hair. Everything is fine, as the family is trying to cure the baby. Everyone considers it their duty to do their best. Ragnar has an older brother. He promised that he would take the boy, but if he really wanted to, he would not leave him in such a place. This was a very long time ago. The young man does not know his exact age, so he cannot say when exactly his brother told about this. He was still small. Game over for that day. At the most opportune moment, Ricardo arrived, who noticed that at this point they were already going back to the estate. Next comes a question for Daphne. The young man has a bag in his hands, which definitely contains something precious for her. We are talking about tracing something on the ground with a stick. First of all, the man uncorks the bottle of potion he brought. The twig was watered with its contents, and then, smiling, the young man asked his sister to help him with something. She won't do too much. Benedito originally drew something on the ground, and now asks him to trace the sign with a stick. He needs it more than anything. It seems like the family is just playing. Ragnar, sitting in a cage, cannot notice what is happening outside, precisely because his view is obscured by the back. A circle forms on the ground. Thanks to Daphne, they got it done quickly, which is good news. Rika has his sister to thank for speeding up the process. The young man seems to take too much joy in showing kindness. The blonde nods as usual. The older brother behaves in exactly this way with children, even if the girl is a child on the outside, but an adult on the inside. Ricardo is about to show something incredible. He places his hand on a circle drawn on the ground, bringing it to life with magic. The girl is curious to understand what exactly such a sign is. She helped, so she has every right to know everything. The man watched Ragnar for a week. All the spells had worn off from him, so after a short meeting they decided to connect the hall of the house with this place through a distortion of time and space. For some reason they use teleportation circles, which the boy doesn't like. He definitely knows something about this, and that is why he was very upset, without saying the reason. The couple's eyes met, and the young man instantly became cheerful again. Lennox sits down on his knees, scooping his sister into his arms. He's going to show her a little closer. Ragnar desperately grabs his girlfriend's hand. Strange emotions flash in his eyes, but it becomes clear that he seems to be worried about something. It's gotten significantly colder lately, so you shouldn't walk back and forth all the time. You can't stop seeing a friend, so they decided to associate the place with the mansion. The boy slaps himself on the cheek, thereby making a strange sound that spreads everywhere. He can't believe that this really isn't just a dream. The girl rushes forward, asking if everything is okay with him. On the contrary, everything is wonderful, because now he has a new friend who takes care of him. Now Daphne will be able to spend more time with the young man. This is a reason for joy that comes out without control. You should take care of the wound first. Lennox reaches out to touch the boy's cheek, saying that he scared them greatly with his unexpected movement. I can't believe the main character is so stupid. The way he sometimes behaves makes you suffocate with the question of what is going on in his head. In the novel, the young man has a bad character to such an extent that even while getting close to the main character, he constantly quarreled with her. At night, the lady also decided to check on her friend so that he wouldn't get bored. She made it to the hall without being noticed, and this was done quite easily. Mother's lullaby was so warm that the girl almost fell asleep. I had to resist with all my might. The chair rolls forward a little. The blonde is transported into the forest using teleportation, which should be tested before use. Ragnar will probably be surprised by the girl's visit. He can react however he wants, but so far the heroine doesn't see anyone. It's dark all around, and the lights aren't on either. The beauty forgot that it was night outside, and the boy should have been asleep for a long time. Daphne hates the dark with all her heart. Darkness carries within it hatred for the girl. She thought she managed to escape from it, but the memories haunt her consciousness to this day. It becomes difficult to breathe. It seems as if the prison will soon completely swallow the blonde, leaving no chance of salvation. Everything is swimming in my eyes. The heroine tries to remain conscious and not succumb to fear, but nothing works out as needed. My hands begin to shake, but there is no point in calling for help. In the distance you can see a light, as if from the moon, but it's the eyes of a boy who stands up that are shining. Beautiful violet eyes shine brightly, warming everything around with their light. This light envelops the baby, enveloping her in a beautiful embrace. No longer intending to hold back, the heroine says that the young man's eyes are simply wonderful. This makes him smile almost instantly. The blonde came to the forest in secret from her family. A smile grows on her face because it is obvious that the beauty missed her friend. This is also true because there is some truth. However, the whole reason is that the lady wanted to give away something valuable. There was hot chocolate in a mug with the lid closed. The boy loves this drink, and this was revealed only recently. He asks if Daphne loves him. Surely the baby also wants to drink a delicious drink right now. The blonde turns away to choose what she needs to say. Sighing, the heroine still tells the truth. She's not exactly a hot chocolate fan, and this news shocks her new friend. The girl said that this is the best thing you can drink, but now she apparently stopped loving it and offers it to the guy himself to try. He takes a sip. Daphne comes and plays with Ragnar every morning, and at night she brings him delicious food in secret from everyone else. If you continue in this spirit, the boy will depend on his girlfriend. Over time, it will become difficult for the brunette to hate someone he knows, and this means that the approach to the main goal of the plan is already very close. Noticing how the beauty behaves, the guy sharply asks if Daphne even likes sweets in general. There is nothing wrong with this, so the girl decides to speak up. She doesn't like it because it's too sweet. The girl is afraid that she will melt along with some candy. Her fears are quite strange and incomprehensible, as for a friend himself, who is surprised. This is almost true because something delicious makes you forget about everything. Chocolate-covered marshmallows are a separate love story. Sometimes Daphne thinks that her will to live might simply melt away. She doesn't know how to explain it or fix it. Thoughts are interrupted by light laughter. This is all because the friend really behaves like a child, which cannot but touch her. The girl is worried that she will melt, which is already considered funny. She's too cute to cause any other reaction. The child considers his acquaintance to be exactly the same as himself, which is annoying. Daphne is about to leave, but the young man stops her by the hand, asking for forgiveness. The young man promises to hold the woman's hand so that she does not have time to melt. He wants everything to be fine. The girl trusted the brunette, so now he is obliged to protect her as much as possible. It's winter outside, but Ragnar's smile blooms. In fact, the young lady will not melt, and she is not afraid of it. But everyone wanted her dead because she is the daughter of a villain. It is not clear how exactly the only friend will react when he finds out the whole truth about the fact that the heroine's mother is Freyne, about whom everyone knows. The next day the brothers went for a walk with the girl. There is no more snow left on the street, because it has all melted. Since then, 2 months have passed since the lady came to the estate, and a month has passed since she met her friend. Ragnar began to hide something, especially lately. When he is alone, the boy seems busy, but then, noticing someone he knows, he gets very scared from everything. Discussion of plans for spring continues in complete cold. Ricardo is going to go out with Daphne, just like Ragnar wants. Trying to put his hands on the bars, the boy seemed to get hurt. He grabs his hand, which is starting to hurt a lot. A wound was found on the wrist, from which blood flows. The girl is worriedly trying to understand where exactly this came from. Looks like one of the bowls broke. The young man was washing it and got hurt. He said nothing, hiding his intense pain. We need to talk about such problems, but now there will be a scar. For some time, this became something good for the boy. Everyone says that scars are like badges of honor that are worth being proud of. Everyone says that, but the family has never heard of it. Daphne looks disappointed or even angry. She tries to calm down by asking if the people who beat him that day said that. The guy's reaction is calm, as if it should be so. He sat there all alone and continued to endure everything that was done to him. It's hard to stand up to someone, but even so, I want Ragnar to be truly happy after everything that happened. A young man should not mistake his scars for badges of rank. He doesn't deserve the pain that affects him so much because he wants to receive the best. People who told nonsense and lied, in fact, you don't even want to know about such things. The girl now feels bad and is incredibly upset. It's time to leave. But before disappearing from sight, the heroine asks her friend to never hide such things again so as not to aggravate the situation. I don't want any of them to feel bad, and with the help of this phrase, the boy understands that they are just taking care of him, as he should be. Even after saying that everything will be fine, my soul remains unsettled. I wonder where Ragnar, who grew up early, lived before. A place where it is impossible to show your feelings and where they will not teach you how to fight or show you the beauty of flowers. It's probably cold and scary there. The next night, the blonde made her way to the cage in the same way as usual. She was going to find out exactly where her friend used to live. This place is scary. The memories make the brunette shrink. There you can hear human screams that fill the walls. People were easily killed there. The guy was promised that they would allow him to meet his older brother if he killed, but he refused. When this happened, they used magic. After all the fear that haunted him almost constantly, Daphne saved the young man, and now he is completely safe. Before finishing his story, the brunette asks his friend if she is afraid of dark places. He spent enough time to notice. The heroine has already given herself away, so there is no point in hiding. She is truly afraid of being in the dark where she will be overtaken. The father, who mercilessly abandoned his child, is also consumed by darkness, so the maiden is doubly afraid of the same end. The young man quickly understands the whole situation, but tries to sympathize fully. He wants to know why the father abandoned his daughter. This is all because the girl is the daughter of Freyne, the villainess. I want to tell the truth, but I don't know what Ragnar will think and how he will react. This boy didn't even see flowers because of his imprisonment, but perhaps he somehow knows about the villain and everything she managed to do. It hurts to speak, and the words don't seem to want to come out, but it's worth saying earlier. This is all because the lady is the daughter of someone who deserves to die for his crimes. The expression on the young man's face is impossible to understand because tears completely obscure the view. He may be angry or he may be in shock. If the lady had the same eyes as other people, she would be able to do much more and hide much more skillfully. The lady is afraid to look at Ragnar and hopes that he will be different. After a while, the boy nods his head because he knows everything, but this does not change anything. The girl herself is not to blame for anything. It is not clear why exactly she was hated so much because of the way she behaves. Daphne does not deserve to die, and the young man is not going to make the others talk bad about his girlfriend, who is now afraid of it. Even if the girl is the daughter of a villain, she still saved the guy. Such actions are not at all affected by what is being done. Even if everyone around is against it, the boy will always love and protect the young lady so that no one hates or bullies her. Even memories of a past life did not always save. In that terrible place, there was no one who could be trusted. Now everything has changed. In this world, there has appeared someone who is ready to protect the beauty as much as possible from everyone else. The last question the young man asks the beauty is about Rickard and Lennox. They are family, but since Ragnar himself is not a part, then who is he? This can only mean one thing. The brunette is a friend who is now friends with Daphne. She didn't even think about it. Due to her difficult life, the girl never had friends, so she shifts the conversation to friendship. If you remember your past life, there were good friends there. If a young man cares about who exactly he is, it's safe to say that this is his best friend. The first and most important. Without finishing the sentence, the lady grabs her throat. At one point, it seemed difficult to breathe, and it became cold. She doesn't understand what's happening to her. Daphne can't say anything anymore. She tries her best to change things, but nothing works, so she falls to the ground. The brothers were the first to hear the noise coming from the room where mother and sister usually spend time. They immediately rush there. There is nothing wrong with barrier magic, but if the magic is destroyed, then something heavy has fallen. The girl could have fallen out of bed while sleeping. There was no one in the room. But then everyone noticed a boy holding Daphne in his arms, saying that he was afraid that she would die. Mother puts her hand to her forehead to check her body temperature. A little time has passed since her illness, so it's clear where she feels this way. The girl doesn't die. They don't explain anything to the guy because everyone around him is very worried even without him. Lennox follows Chloe while Ricardo stays behind. The lady will be fine. The young man was also badly hurt, so it would be best to step away and talk. I don't want to go back to prison, so the hero asks to leave him at the estate until Daphne gets better. It's worth treating the wounds. The boy is taken away even if he wants to be with his girlfriend. After treating the wounds, he will be taken to a room. When asked about what happened, there is silence. Everything is already wonderfully clear, because the maiden probably came to play at night. This is all just because the young man wanted to spend more time with his friend. He didn't know what consequences this would lead to. Rika doesn't know what to say, but thinks about the fact that the boy walked out of the cage with ease. For some reason, he remained inside all this time. The brother extends his hand as if inviting him to come with him. He must give the girl some medicine so that Ragnar can come with him. Previously, this man scared the young man madly because of his tall stature, but in reality he turned out to be a sweetheart who is trying to please people. The hero even used magic to stay close to the blonde, but no one blames him. They understand that now is not the time. The brunette would want to be treated the same way if he were his brother. For now, all that's left to do is enjoy what you have. The eyes gradually open. The girl asks for water because her throat hurts incredibly, and they immediately hand her a full glass from the table. Only a minute later, the beauty realizes that Ragnar is next to her. Mother allowed him to stay with him until he got better. It turns out that it was the young man who brought his girlfriend to the estate after she lost consciousness. She wants to be angry, but she can't do anything. The young man had been planning to escape for a long time. He knew how to do it and was already planning to do it, but he always put it off because of a new acquaintance who showed concern. Virgo fell ill through the fault of a friend, but this is not true. She assures that there is no guilt because she independently decided that she wanted to see the boy much more. The boy climbs into a hug just at the moment when Benedito enters the room, who opens her mouth in surprise when she sees that her daughter has woken up. The baby finally woke up, which makes me happy. The woman was very worried because the girl had been in this state for about a week. Lennox also joins the family. He talks about his uncle, who was very surprised by what was happening. Tom had to help. Daphne is safely awake, so Chloe wants to return to her conversation with Sheerbold. They had already agreed on something before. The young man could have left the cage all this time, but he did not. The motives are not immediately clear, but as it turns out, he was afraid of scaring Daphne. They had tried to hurt her before, so she had to be careful. At midnight, Ragnar still got out despite his instructions. I wanted to help, so Benedito thanks for this. Initially, she was going to find Bertold's brother Sheerbold, but from the stories it is clear that he is not a good person. Rara said that they would take him away, but that turned out to be just a lie. He promised to come only if the boy became good and diligent. Bertold did not take the child because he does not keep his promises. Upon his return, he will definitely be killed, which of course cannot help but frighten him. In this case, you need to find a place for Ragnar where he can stay. A guest room was vacated, in which the young man could live until some point. The brunette can't believe his ears. This means that my mother doesn't mind at all, and this makes me happy because I always wanted to live in a normal family. Rara is very glad that he had such an opportunity. Chloe smiles because being a child is not at all good. Now my daughter has a new friend. The childishness is stopped by Ricardo, who calls the family. It's time for lunch since everything is already cooling down and everyone will join. As a result, Ragnar became a member of the family, just like Daphne. He had never seen food like this before, so he looked a little funny from the outside. Evening came. The blonde realized that she had indeed done the right thing, but she also needed to deal with the passage into the forest, which was no longer needed. Perhaps because of Daphne's health, or perhaps because of something else, the lady can't stop worrying. My soul is still somehow uneasy. My legs still don't work as they should. Because of what is happening, the beauty does not want to contact the outside world, and her home is very far away. The family tried many medications and other options, but ultimately nothing worked. We can only hope in God and the guy who promised to help. The next morning, Sherbold was given new clothes that fit him perfectly. He also noticed Daphne's new dress, which turned out to be wonderful. It's been pretty cold, but it's time to finally switch to summer clothes that fit perfectly. Rara begins to gradually get used to her new home. He even started learning to write with his new sister. The boy turned out to be quite capable, so everything worked out as best as possible. He helps Lennox and learns to cook with Ricardo. The blonde is glad that her friend's relationship with everyone has begun to improve. Lately, everything has been going as well as possible. The young man interrupts the flow of thoughts, saying that he found the right gift for the girl. She opens the envelope, noticing that there is a scarf and mittens inside. The boy did it on his own, but was not happy that he was too late. I wanted to donate the set earlier, but there were problems with knitting. Lennox helped, and even if they were doing alchemy, he finished his gift. This is what was done secretly in prison. The items turned out to be of uneven length and strange knitting, and given that winter is over, there is no point in them. However, the lady thanks for the gift. It's cold in the evenings, so you can wear the set then. Rara compliments the color which suits, but they are interrupted again. A tall man with blonde hair bursts into the room. The man says he doesn't mean to hurt anyone, but instead rejoices in the fact that he finally got to see Daphne. This young man is the girl's father. He smiles, even though it can't really be true. The beauty deep in her soul is very surprised because she does not understand how this is possible. Finally managed to meet my daughter. The blonde begins to cry more than ever, trying to say something else, even if nothing really comes out. The guy's eyes are the same golden as those of the heroine herself. He doesn't understand how someone can say such cruel words towards him. In this country, this color is mainly characteristic of the nobility. This means that this person is definitely a nobleman, but it is not clear exactly what his name is. It would be better if it turned out to be just a coincidence, although it bursts inside at the most opportune moment. She swings the door open furiously. The face contorts with anger, which is difficult to contain, while the girl loudly screams Axelius's name. He came without an invitation. Noticing Claire, the guy begins to cry again, although he has just calmed down. He compliments how cute she looks standing next to her. Perhaps this is my mother's boyfriend, or perhaps there is a more complicated story. The blonde is unable to understand what is happening as the two look at each other. After a second, the lady swings her arms and starts screaming, which has already been said before. You must always go to her first and then go to the others. This is what happens when an uncle doesn't listen to a woman. Lennox tries to ignore it, but the screams are too loud throughout the estate. Looking at the picture that appeared right in front of them, the beauty asks her brother if this is exactly the crybaby about whom we have already mentioned earlier. Finally calming down, the girl exhales heavily. This is too much. Claire dared to raise their common daughter, who deserved to know her father, in secret from him. Sadness envelops the body as another wave of hysteria begins. Without ceremony, the girl declares that this is not his daughter because this is impossible. It looks like the parents need to talk, so the brother suggests they go for a little walk. Before leaving, the mother asks if the baby was scared or surprised. The lady did not want to try to show her emotions in any wrong way, but her uncle cried so much that her heart even hurt. He looked too sad. Daphne is too cute. She is beautiful not only in appearance, but also in the kindness that she exudes. The smile also seems kind. 5 or 6 years ago, before leaving for the outskirts, the young man spent one night with Claire. That is why it seemed that this could be his child. Common people do not have a golden color like the girls. Most likely, this is his child, but for some reason, Chloe assures that the father is another man. Several minutes pass in complete silence. The hero is not going to ask about all the details, since obviously his beloved does not want to talk about this topic. The man was definitely called for a reason. Surely this all has something to do with Daphne's legs, because she sits in a wheelchair almost all the time. The girl injured her legs during an accident, and even Lennox and Ricardo were unable to fully cope with the problem that happened. In this empire, or rather on the entire continent, these two are the best in the magic of alchemy. They were obliged to do something in such a situation and help. Chloe tried so many different options, but in the end, nothing happened. Although they hesitated for a while, since it was better to hide the girl, they then began to work. Axelius was called because the last option was healing in the temple. It is there that it will be possible to do something. And even if it does not work, things cannot be worse. I don't want to think about the worst. Claire hopes that it will turn out that Daphne will eventually get back on her feet and grow up to be a full-fledged child with a future. Taking the girl's hand in his palm, the man promises that he will do everything possible. You can trust him because nothing bad will definitely happen. Axelius smiles, trying to stop the tears from flowing from the lady's eyes. For the sake of a loved one, everyone is ready to do anything. A week later, an appointment was made. There, they will try to cure the beauty's legs, and then perhaps everything will really work as it should. The girl is being collected for a meeting so that they will not be late. She asks Lennox if he will come with them, but he shakes his head. The paladin will pick him up. The door opens. The lady sits waiting because she has no idea who exactly will come to take her with him. She can only be happy with how everything turns out, and this is the same man. They are going to head to the Eamon Temple. The blonde promises that he will help his daughter there. His name has now become known in full, Axelius Chaynard. That crybaby turned out to be a rather high-ranking person. Most likely, the young man noticed genuine surprise on the young lady's face, so she decides to pull herself together. Before leaving, his brother asks if Daphne is going to take with her, as usual, the scarf and gloves that she has come to love. Gloves should be worn until it gets warmer, and a scarf should be used as a blanket. The girl would really like to go with her friend, just like he wants to go himself. Ragnar has no choice but to bother other people around him. The heroine herself is exactly the same, which is why perhaps they became best friends. I don't want anyone to accidentally find out that the beauty is the daughter of a villain. She's afraid it will come out. I want to heal my legs as soon as possible. In front of the carriage, the couple is met by their mother. She asks Daphne to come closer, delivering a beautiful hat that should save her from the spring sun. The little thing must cope with its functions and cover its face. Everything will be fine just like that, so the blonde thanks them for taking care of her. The temple does not accept other guests, so there is no point in worrying. The beauty nods her head, trying to calm herself down. The girl gets into the carriage. The family remains outside, waving their hands and expecting the heroine to return very soon. They will be greatly missed. The smile itself appears on the face once again. The lady is grateful to all her friends for supporting her at the right time. With the courage that the beauty was given, she may well go forward and reach the end. Confidence has increased significantly. An hour later, the carriage arrived at the temple. One of the nuns who greeted the guests joyfully greets Sir Chaynard, whom they have not seen for a long time. The uncle smiles, waving his hand to everyone who sees him. Now Daphne sees that this crybaby is really a paladin, which she had never thought about before. At least the beauty won't be kicked out of the room because she came with an important person. Whispers are heard around, because no one understands who exactly this child is. Entering the main hall, Axelius rolls his chair forward. He doesn't pay attention to the discussions going on around him. The lady's eyes roll from side to side, trying to see everything a little better than is actually visible. She tries to notice everything that is happening. The saint is already waiting for the couple in the main hall. She smiles as she greets Chaynard, then points to the seat next to her. The man says that they have not seen each other for a very long time, but the woman laughs because they saw each other the day before. Leaning a little lower, the lady studies the beauty, who looks frightened. This is the same child for whom they wanted to ask earlier. A woman learns that the girl injured her leg in an accident. She says she has tried all kinds of treatments, but nothing works. It turns out that the heroine is in a more dangerous situation than she initially thought. The holiness is going to begin treatment almost immediately. Virgo is enveloped in a strange warm energy that is reflected in white. It fits nicely to the body, making you feel more comfortable. Feet become warmer. That day, the woman just tried one thing, so she asks her to try moving her legs to understand their sensitivity. Nodding her head, the beauty agrees to get everything done quickly. She concentrated to quickly get out of the chair. Gritting her teeth, the girl hopes that everything will be fine. In her head, she's literally begging her legs to start moving before it's too late to do so. Everything turned out exactly as it should. The only negative is that the beauty continues to tremble, trying to calm down. It will take a lot of time and effort to get back on your feet and become healthy, but it will be worth it. The holiness can help. The blonde smiles. She never knew what God's mercy was, but now it even reached her. Now it's clear what it means when God himself takes care of her. His Majesty also arrived at the temple. He knows that High Duke Axelius is inside, so he tells the guards that they urgently need to talk. This man is the crown prince of the Clemens Empire, but they dare to block his way for some trivial reason that costs nothing. The main character's attention is attracted by a strange noise coming from somewhere behind. Something seems to be going on there, but she can't figure out what it is. The Duke is concerned about the girl's well-being, but she shakes her head negatively, saying that she is fine. I just heard something by chance. The holiness distracts Sir Chaynard. She wants to talk alone for just a minute to discuss the full situation. The young man asks Daphne to wait a little. No one will get into the hall, so security will remain here. He holds out a lemon-flavored lollipop. Waving his hand, the blonde assures that he will return faster than the lady has time to realize that he has left and will have time to eat the gift. It really won't take time. The door closes and the baby is left completely alone in the huge hall. It looks like no one will actually enter there because there is silence. Since there is no one left nearby, this means that we can finally take off the hat, which has been a little in the way all this time. It's much easier this way. The lady is about to look around, but the creaking of the door interrupts her thoughts. A middle-aged boy with blonde hair and eyes enters the room. This man immediately greets the girl and asks her a question. She doesn't know if the young man knows anything about her in general, or if he's someone new. The girl immediately understands that the best option is to leave quickly, but because of fear, she cannot move a single muscle in her body. Looking straight into the heroine's eyes, the boy asks if they came with the Grand Duke. Obviously, this is true, but confirmation is needed. The hero notices quite late that the beauty has beautiful golden eyes. This means that she is the daughter of Axelius, who is exactly the same. The Duke listens to the saint, who is actually very worried about the child's condition. Daphne is in pretty bad shape. From one point of view, the lady is confident that the girl will get better. She understands that the young man is impatient, so she immediately lays out everything. Her body is different from other children, and you can tell that it requires a lot of energy. In this way, as in the temple, the wounds of ordinary people are treated. However, if she has enough energy, she will be able to fully recover. Taking out a strange basket, the beauty says that this is exactly what she will need to treat the heroine. Something else is also needed, but she is in no hurry to talk about it. Her problem requires urgent intervention. It is impossible to complete the treatment quickly, since the new energy must have time to accumulate in Benedito's body for a sufficient level. Treatment will take about 2 weeks. This is not the longest period of time, since before this the girl had to undergo treatment for about a whole year, which exhausted her. The holiness falls silent. She noticed that Daphne had eyes like Chaynard and hair like Benedito, so it seemed like she was their common daughter. The story of Axelius's unrequited love is known to everyone in the capital. His love was strong, while Chloe didn't treat him like she wanted to be together. The woman decides to discard unnecessary thoughts. She will take full responsibility for the treatment and asks to transfer this to Benedito so that she will not worry so much. Trying to change his mind, the young man tries to explain that this is not Chloe's daughter, because he doesn't want every second person to know about it. A scream is heard from the main hall. The girl desperately defends herself, screaming that she doesn't want to answer questions, while the prince tries to push her. The young man is outraged that the duke's daughter has golden eyes, while he, the emperor's son, has only an ordinary gray color that is not noticeable. Virgo knows nothing. The children from the orphanage pointed their fingers at her, just as this stranger is doing now. She was constantly reproached for everything. The Duke comes forward, blocking the heroine with himself. He asks His Majesty why he arrived at the temple in such an unexpected manner. Full awareness is reflected in the eyes. The beauty did not even think that this was the prince whom she already knew. The boy truly seems unrecognizable. Finally, the maiden also remembered the story and the details of the description of this character's appearance. He was born with normal eye color, and now it bothers him. This man is also the fiancé of the main character from the second part of the novel. Now he asks if there is a place in the empire where he is forbidden to go. Simon Rogelio Clemens is the only heir to the Clemens Empire who is currently crown prince. The boy is quite smart and also has a perfect trained body. He can do many things just because of his talent. The child was born into the happy marriage of the emperor and empress, so he received boundless love and attention, and his personality is almost perfect. The young man has only one drawback, or rather a complex that was instilled in him. Gold eye color is a symbol of royalty, but he was born with gray eyes. If you think about it, the crown prince was the official fiancé of the main character, but he hated and offended her. Most likely there was a reason for this too. All this is because Maria inherited golden eyes from the Duke, who himself possessed them. She irritated him greatly, although she did nothing. The girl understands what is in Simon's soul, but she will never forgive her ignorance towards herself. Everyone is wondering why the young man came. Axelius frowns. He is no longer in a good mood because Daphne was scared. People go to temple to pray. This is not the reason used here. As it turned out, the prince heard that the Grand Duke had forbidden everyone to enter the premises, so he immediately arrived after the announcement from the guards. The young man heard that the Duke was monitoring the progress of affairs in this temple. After all, after his death, Axelius will become the eating heir. The blonde does not understand the meaning of the hero's sudden return. To all this, there are a lot of questions about why others were forbidden to enter the temple. The man got angry. He clearly told his brother that he had no claim to the throne, so he could not try to take the place from his nephew, who had already been prepared. It's not clear what exactly made the boy so angry, but it doesn't matter anymore. The hero asks for the last time, but it's already time for him to return. As for the temple, the story is even simpler. The child needed treatment, so he went there for help. She is not his daughter, which is, of course, impossible. They are so similar, but in fact they have nothing in common. The hair color is a little different, but it is a lighter tone. He approaches the girl's mother, Benedito, so no questions arise. The hero asks not to invent unnecessary things. I don't want other people to paint new pictures in their heads because the beauty is just the daughter of his friend. Even the saintly one thought that the heroine was Chaynard's daughter. The fact that they are constantly interfering in her life is beginning to bother her, not allowing her to really take a break from attention. Looking into her uncle's eyes, the girl asks to take her home. She was pretty worried, but it's not scary, because all the commotion was started by her nephew, who is still small. The girl really looks tired, so the Duke asks His Highness to go and rest, since he is not in the best shape yet. Soon they will be home. The surprise never goes away. It seemed to the heroine that the prince would not let her go. Obviously, the look and the eyes only made the person more worried and angry. The Empress knocks to enter her son's chambers. She wants to remind you that on the same day there will be a viewing of the bride, who in the future will become the new ruler. The young man asks for forgiveness for forgetting. Today he looks stranger and calmer. Something seems to be bothering him, but he has no desire to talk about it. The mother is about to ask what happened, but they cannot make the guests wait any longer. The story will be heard a little later, immediately after the meeting. Initially, it was planned to hold a preliminary election of the crown prince, but the young man will meet with guests without events. The hero freezes. He does not understand why elections are not held in the empire, and immediately thinks that it is because he was born with gray eyes. Walking further down the corridor, the boy listens to his mother's lamentations. She doesn't understand why he inherited her eye color, which does not symbolize royalty. The only thing that can be said to cheer up the young man is that the eyes of the princess, who is already waiting for him, have a golden color which is beautiful. Maria is a half-breed, but nothing can be done about it. Simon must come to terms with it because he simply has no other choice. The boy still doesn't understand what needs to be done and is skeptical about everything. He doesn't understand why he has to make up for something that wasn't even given in the first place. The prince must decide something and choose what he is going to do in the future, but it turns out that nothing depends on him, and this is scary. Since the young man does not have golden eyes, then there really is no other way out, and there is no point in looking for it, because there is no point in it. A girl with dark hair and wonderful eyes gets up from her seat. She comes closer, saying that she is glad to meet His Majesty after so much waiting. The young man nods his head, saying that he is also glad to meet you. He doesn't know what to say, so he remains silent. The girl really has distinctive eyes, which he failed to inherit. All aristocrats have the same color, but for some reason it seems that the lady in the temple has much more beautiful ones. They seem to glow with kindness. Chloe, upon arriving home, looks at the mountains of purchases. This was brought with them by my uncle and daughter, who managed to drop into many stores upon their return. They look more like raking shoppers than visitors. Seeing Daphne's happy face, the young man simply could not stop or refuse. The girl is silent, but understands that she personally said that she doesn't need anything. It was purely the initiative of a hero who decided to make the day the best. Nevertheless, this day was memorable. After they had gone to all the places they wanted, the man asked if his niece had fun while they were walking. It's normal to want your child to have only the best memories of their childhood. If there is an opportunity to do everything right, you need to act. People in the shops on the main square suggested that the father buy a gift for his daughter. From the outside, Axelius really looks like a family person who is a parent. The baby is not too happy with how everyone around is reacting, but she understands that there is no point in being angry. Sometimes a lady wonders what would happen if she had a real dad. Upon arrival home, Rara was the first to meet the girl almost on the threshold. He smiles, asking where his girlfriend was for so long. She promised to return soon. The heroine quickly explains where exactly she disappeared, but then she remembers the fact that she even brought a gift to a friend, because she understood that it was important. The young man must like it, so the beauty hands him a beautiful box. There was a lot of different chocolate there, which causes children's delight. After receiving the gift, the boy's mood improved noticeably. As soon as everyone found out that the leg could be cured, they breathed a sigh of relief. Uncle Axelius now visits his family whenever he has free time. Every time he tells some interesting stories. It's good to just sit still and listen to what you like, but at some moments the Virgo becomes sad. She would like to run with Ragnar. The man tries with all his might not to let the lady get bored. Of the latest stories, he talks about traveling to the outskirts to help his brother. Everything that was said was not in the original book, so listening became twice as interesting. The girl rejoices at this turn of events. The young man continues the story. They found themselves in a huge dungeon, which was completely covered with water. For a moment, the hero was even a little scared. Ragnar blinks his eyes in surprise. Obviously, he doesn't know anything. The heroine is different in that she knows such details, unlike the hero himself. One day, a dungeon appeared and dried up the surrounding land. This is a scary place where monsters attack people. Horrible traps may seem innocent, but you should be wary of them. Sheerbold shrinks. It's unclear how my uncle wasn't scared, because in his place I would have wanted to run away long ago, preferably to somewhere far away. If you overcome all the traps and survive, the cave will disappear. People can only be happy after everything is over. As a knight of the temple, Chainard's duty is to take care of the people of the empire first and foremost. The girl would like such a good man to be emperor. If reality had been different from what it was at that time, and Axelius had learned about the circumstances of the heroine's mother, then perhaps the story would have turned out a little differently. The little girl doesn't even know where Frayne was buried. I would like to think that her grave is somewhere in a warm meadow that is pleasant to look at. The girl no longer knows what to think about, but she wants to escape from her thoughts. The mother certainly did not deserve to be treated poorly, and the motives still seem strange. That is why the beauty wants to become the new head of the Benedetto clan, so that even if rumors spread, she can finish what she started and take revenge. Someday, everything will be fine. Time passes too quickly, and the long-awaited summer has already arrived, which has brought with it sunny days and light winds. Thanks to Daphne's persistence, results have already appeared with the treatment. The holiness was also surprised at such good progress. Extending her hand, the lady accepts the girl's palm, asking her to try to rise, holding on to her as a support in order to get to her feet. Virgo is not going to overexert herself, but you need to remain calm. She tries to get up, calming down the trembling that suddenly began to spread in her legs for no reason. Deciding to finally stand on the floor, the lady freezes. She can stand almost normally, except that she has absolutely no strength, as if she had just run a marathon. Adults want to cry. Axelius believed his friend, but could not hope that he would see it so quickly. Daphne is going to try to take at least one step forward to figure out how to go. The baby almost trips. The uncle assures that there is no point in trying to rush because there is enough time. She still intends to make everything the best she can. The second attempt turned out to be much more difficult than the previous one. The girl cannot stand normally, but in her head, she begs her legs to move, showing results. The face turns red from the efforts made, which seem to be in vain. The step is still completed, and the heroine can no longer contain her joy. She will finally be able to walk. Axelius squats down, instantly hugging the girl. He is glad that everything will be fine and at the same time thanks God for how everything turned out. It's pouring like buckets outside. This upsets the blonde because he already managed to even buy a cake to celebrate his achievement. It's too dangerous to return home. This means the couple will not be able to return to the estate. We just have to wait another half hour until it's all over. I don't want to get caught in a storm. They can spend the night in the carriage, but the man is not happy with that. He cannot leave the child in such a place, so he offers to go to his house. Entering the beautiful estate, the lady opens her mouth in surprise. She did not think that she would end up in a place like this, with a beautiful interior and many maids around. Everyone bows their head respectfully, greeting the Grand Duke, who was a little late. The mansion looks more like a royal palace. Turning to the butler, the young man asks that Daphne be given water and brought home clothes. The young lady will not experience even the slightest comfort. All other servants, except the maid and the man himself, must go home. There is nothing else to do there, so this is like an order. The maid offers the baby a bath. She smiles as she takes the girl further. It turns out to be able to walk freely, so the heroine refuses help. The Duke had previously talked about the child, but the woman did not know that she would be able to meet the beauty in person. It is clear that this is like a gift of fate. The heroine asks about tea preferences. It's worth warming up a little before going to lunch. Closing the door, the servant promises that he will return back soon. If you think about it, the uncle had prepared clothes for the beauty in advance. He seems to regard her as his daughter, which seems nice, even if it's not right. I wish this man was a father, but Héronis is. There's a knock on the door. It seems that the maid has returned so quickly, but Prince Simon is there. Unpleasant feelings overwhelm Daphne almost instantly. She moves away, hoping that another interrogation will not begin. The boy is silent, not making a sound. It's scary because he could attack at any moment, screaming just like last time. It was strange. Instead of trying to ruin Benedito's time, Simon suddenly asks for forgiveness for what happened last time. The blonde does not want to offend the beauty and did not want to ruin her mood even that time too. She's not weak, but anyone would be scared if they were attacked. Silence falls in the hall again. The young man breaks down, asking the lady to say something. The silence dragged on because the words were unexpected, because it was not thought that it would be possible to hear an apology. The wayward prince bowed his head and his gaze softened, making you feel special. Everything became clear from the first words, so gratitude is heard. The hero is glad that the girl accepted the apology. He catches himself thinking that he shouldn't jump with happiness to the ceiling and thereby show his hidden emotions. The young man is in the temple not just to apologize, because we shouldn't forget about the heavy rain that never stopped. The hero asks if the girl doesn't like the golden color of her eyes. Virgo chuckles. The interlocutor turned out to be quite smart, since he was able to solve the riddle so quickly with how exactly she knew everything. She liked purple better. Gold shows nobility and is a symbol of the royal family, but the heroine is not a member of the royal family. This color reminds of a bad person. It seems that the hero is trying to talk about his experiences because he talks about how he thought that people liked this shade. Listening to others without getting rid of your fears does not seem like the best idea. To avoid conversations, the girl says that she is very tired. Instead of answering, the young man begins to cry. The beauty notices the tears that are puddling on the floor. Simon kicks himself for not inheriting the right color. The boy is sincerely jealous because he doesn't understand how it happened that he didn't get anything. I wanted him to be treated well. The blonde clenches her teeth forcefully. She doesn't know how to support the person, but instead asks him to stop crying. In any case, everything will be fine if you speak up. The girl's mother said that if you lock sorrows in your heart, you can get sick. She still can't help it, but she can try to make things better. Even in the worst-case scenario, the girl does not have the right to leave the child alone. He can tell everything that is on his soul. From generation to generation, the imperial family inherited golden eyes, and both the father and grandfather of the young man were there. Even the godfather, the Grand Duke, also became the one who inherited the right color eyes. Only the main character is a little different. He tries to pretend that everything is fine, but his origins are constantly being questioned, which is a little worrying. Everyone around is shaking in front of the prince and bowing their heads, but right behind his back they are all repeating the same thing. Everyone believes that eyes should be inherited. Simon doesn't understand what went wrong and why his genes are different. Sometimes you have to wonder if his birth was a mistake. This is not true, because no one has the right to decide how children will be born. There's nothing wrong with being born special. The lack of golden eyes should not mean that he is not the right heir. It doesn't change anything, even if people around him question the boy. The parents did not reject the young man and love him for who he is. The status of the prince is unshakable. Then you need to ask yourself what the problem is. In any case, a man in the future will retain his title and become an emperor. Then, of course, he should not care about the bad words that are said around him. What happened is not and will not be the fault of the hero himself. He could not change until the moment of his appearance, and since it happened this way, this is how God himself wanted to see him. The girl says all the words that she wanted to hear from at least someone a little earlier. Children are not to blame for being born into this world. The boy jumps in surprise. He doesn't believe that the girl doesn't care that he doesn't have golden eyes, which are usually too important. Tears form in Simon's eyes again. He would like to hear similar words from other people, but obviously this is not destined to come true. After a while, the hero finally calmed down. He realized that he had just been comforted by a girl, so he instantly frowned at the display of emotion. Rogelio once again apologizes for the way he behaved. Now he is ready to officially introduce himself and say that he is the future emperor. The girl smiles, introducing herself in response. She is the heir to the head of Benedetto and the daughter of famous merchants, but not Grand Duke Exilius. The prince nods. He paces from side to side while trying to formulate a sentence. There was a desire to do the honor and become Daphne's first friend. The blonde blinks her eyes in surprise, but reminds her in time that she already has her first friend, whose name is Rara. He was considered the only one. The uncle returned back to the estate. He opens the door, asking for forgiveness for the wait, because he was a little late with the butler. The man almost instantly freezes in surprise because he sees a boy right in front of him. He greets the Grand Duke, narrowing his eyes a little. By asking when Clemens arrived, the young man receives an answer to his question. The boy had originally intended to visit Daphne to apologize. They have already become friends, although the maid was gone for only about 15 minutes. The Duke is even more surprised, because he did not think that his niece would forgive the one who frightened her greatly. The Crown Prince did not want to cause harm, so he simply offered his friendship, which was immediately gladly accepted. Chaynard nods his head. He promises that they will discuss everything later and approaches the girl. They need to discuss some issues with Benedetto before everyone goes to bed. Chloe asked to house the baby for just one night because of the heavy rain, but threatened to have the man bring the girl back in the morning once things had calmed down. Next, the young man takes out a hairpin from his bosom. The thing is depicted in the form of a beautiful blue butterfly, which attracts attention almost instantly. The heroine is trying to remember where she has already seen a picture of the thing, so she immediately realizes that it was on the market. The hairpin was on one of the counters. This is a gift for the fact that the beauty decided to come to visit the Duke. Somehow he noticed that the girl was looking at her. The girl rejoices, and the man immediately begins to cry from the good moment. The day ended well, because at her uncle's house, the girl received goodies, a gift and warm memories. It's time to go to bed. The blonde passed out almost instantly, realizing that it was time to rest. The butler notifies the Duke that he has seen off the Crown Prince. He is also going to rest, but wants to convey important information. The man realized that there was someone who had said something stupid to Simon. He began to worry more and cry, and so far suspicions fall on only one person. This man is Duke Coronis. He didn't introduce himself when he brainwashed the boy, but he remembered everything he was told for quite a long time. Exilius sighs, clutching his head. He would like the kid to get involved in the affairs of adults, but obviously the aristocrat himself left no other choice. The child has a huge responsibility. Since childhood, he has been worried about his eye color, and it is not surprising that with age the topic becomes more sensitive. The adults have gone completely mad with power. They just play with little Simon like this, even though he didn't even do anything wrong, but was born into the imperial family. The Duke can be given a warning. As soon as the man returns to the capital, most likely he will immediately go talk about this topic. You can't just leave it like that. The aristocrat will feel unpunished and will again make attempts to ruin the young man's mood. The weather has been wonderful since the morning. The girl went for a walk with the maid and smiled, seeing in front of her a whole bunch of flowers and the beautiful sun. The lady is about to leave for home. She was given a box of cookies which were personally made by the chef. The maid compliments the hairpin. Timidly saying thank you, the lady hears the same thing in response. The servants expect that the baby will visit them soon, and they set out on the road. After some time, the carriage arrived at Benedito's estate. The uncle sang a lullaby to the girl, so it wasn't scary. He has a nephew, and that's how he learned it. Rara was a little late to meet his friend, but he hurried as best he could. Running to the carriage, he catches his breath because he hasn't slept much. The boy is also a crybaby, because as soon as he returned, he began to cry, because he is afraid that his friend will not return, and then he will be left alone again. Chloe thanks the man for helping the girl. In any case, they will not be able to be together because merchants always quickly appear and quickly leave. If this is fate, then nothing can be changed, but the guy freezes and then asks to go on some kind of trip together when there is such an opportunity. Beauty promises to check her plans to know when they can implement it. The Duke's face shows undisguised joy. The hairpin that is in the hair also attracts attention. The couple, as usual, begins to quarrel because the girl is denied the joy of being a mother. In the summer, the uncle invited the beauty's mother on a date. He made sure that the entrance to the temple was closed so they could all go there together. The woman almost agrees, but no. She cannot leave Ragnar alone and is too worried about his condition alone. This is the only stumbling block. They can all go together. Rara is afraid of other people but can wear glasses and a hat anyway. The choice is his because forcing himself in any case is not worth it. The brunette has the right to go out and have some fun. If something bad happens, Daphne will make sure that the offender will immediately regret it. In this case, the young man agrees. He put on his glasses and went with the others to the temple. Upon arrival, there is no limit to admiration because the beauty is truly indescribable. It was a good idea to go together. It's time for Daphne to go to treatment, so, taking the boy in his arms, the Duke suggests they go and wait somewhere else. The mother takes the girl to the main room. Before entering there, the woman wants to hear about her physical condition again. Nothing will change if you hear it again. When it comes to health, all moms worry. Benedito never received this kind of attention from her biological parents. The next treatment session is over. The magic dissipates and the Holy One departs, accepting thanks from Chloe. The woman squats down, saying that she needs to discuss something with the saint. While she's gone, the baby can find Axel and Ragnar. After treatment, I wanted to try walking. Practice is a good thing, so it's best to do it at home. The heroine will try her best. Screams are heard from behind the door. The first thing heard is Simon, who declares that he is officially friends with Daphne, and Raru, who shouts that he has never heard of him. A girl's first friend is generally a female individual. The guy is not going to give up, so he continues to quarrel to get his point across. Urging the couple to stop the commotion, the blonde says she is friends with both of them. In this case, they are also obliged to make friends, even if it is a little difficult. Stretching out her hands, the baby asks to shake them in honor of reconciliation. In response, she only receives a snort, while the guys turn away in different directions. The two did not say a single word to each other while the legs were being treated. Everyone pulls the girl towards themselves, saying that they will play with them. Daphne promised both of them that they would take a walk, so this does not make the current situation any easier. They cannot share their friend and her time. There is nothing left to do but try to reach out to my uncle. These children already hurt her ears and arms, by which she is pulled in different directions. I want simple peace of mind. The girl really needs a break, so Axel is about to leave with her. Children who are too active are left alone in the main hall to fight with their eyes. The couple doesn't even know where they are going, but already, as the first, they rush forward, telling each other that they will be the first. The library where the beauty arrived is a quiet place. From this moment on, both are obliged to remain silent and not interfere with the girl's enjoyment of the environment. The heroine likes people who behave calmly even in such a situation. The boys promise that they will be the quietest, even if it is difficult. After half an hour, the girl turns her gaze to her friends. It looks like they've finally calmed down. This, of course, cannot but rejoice, given the way the situation has developed. Daphne decided to read until her mother came to take them home. The book that was chosen came to hand purely by chance. The beauty noticed a beautiful butterfly on the cover. The heroine herself does not understand how it happened that she began to love butterflies. Perhaps it started from the moment she was helped in the forest. The moth flew away and they never met again, but the maiden hopes that he has a good life. The moment still causes a rush of warmth in the heart. The librarian said that the book was for children, but it talks about the beginning when God loved all living things. He decided to bless the world with the gift of birth, but every life had to fade away. Death is always nearby, and only after it can you meet the Savior. The girl is indignant in her soul that before this she must endure torment. I would like to understand what exactly this book says, but nothing is written on the last page. It was simply torn out by another person. The little girl wants to ask her friends for their opinion and ask them to look at how the page is torn out, but notices that each of them has fallen asleep while trying to learn wisdom. Uncle mentions Daphne again. He wants to find out who the girl's father is, but the woman is in no hurry to say anything under any circumstances. The man is busy in the fortress, so he must shut up and work. Chloe donates to the temple every year. She really wants to make Benedito the heir, even if Lennox and Ricardo still exist. Everything will work out, and she will cope. Axel doesn't want to do anything bad, but he's just worried. A fragile and small body will deal with complex tasks every day. Even the maiden barely survived. The blonde remembers the poem that is in the book with the butterfly. It was a must-read and had some hidden meaning. The girl mentions the moment when the baby just arrived at her estate. A child who is always trying to conquer death cannot remain a conqueror for eternity. Daphne will definitely find her true self and understand that she wants to do something, but for now, her mother will serve as her support. The time will come when everything will be fine. The Lord loves people who weave their own path. The servant tells the Duke that the prince has found the way to the temple. He specifically advised him to stay away from Axelius, but Axelius ended up not listening. If the prince dies, the next heir will inevitably be the Grand Duke. Aristocrat Patrick makes strange movements, so the young man plans to use him to kidnap him. It is impossible to believe that the imperial family started a game that is evil. A man wants the daughter of a duke as his wife, when even he himself has not become a good match. Marriage will help strengthen your influence. The conversation with the butler is interrupted by the little girl bursting through the door. She smiles, saying that she missed her father. Maria asks permission to come in for a while. She doesn't want to interfere with the work, but this is unrealistic, so the father calls the girl closer to him. The girl made a beautiful wreath of wildflowers for her father. He is truly a happy man, because such a gift from his daughter is very important. Julius comes in to pick up the baby. She reminds the child that she should not interfere with the Duke's work, so that they do not suffer losses, and looks a little annoyed. The brunette rushes to her mother and then hugs her around the waist. The heroine immediately bursts into a smile, because the daughter is so sweet that you can't be angry with her for too long. The woman apologizes to her husband for distracting him from work, but he just nods his head. The family can't do much damage, per se. As soon as the door closes, the man removes the wreath from his head. It is unthinkable to give the pretty Mary to some impudent person who was born into the royal family. Viscount Patrick is known to hate the emperor because of the slave trade. The fortune was halved, and the wife also left. The man does nothing but dream of revenge. It is necessary to spread rumors and convey information. Then the Viscount will be able to arrange the kidnapping of the prince in the temple. They could then take the opportunity to rescue the young boy. It would be nice to blame Chaynard, but that requires credible rumors. This will separate Simon and the Duke. If the Knights of Chironis save the future emperor, he will listen to the man more than to the great Axelius. No one can ignore their savior. It's too hot outside. The girl doesn't really like summer, only because the weather makes her not want to go out. She waves her hand to bring in some breeze. The boys are running around shouting about who won and lost. This is nothing new, because this is not the first time something like this has happened. The friends are not tired at all, because games bring them joy. It is clear that she would like to join, but the heroine does not take risks, given her precarious condition. Uncle Crybaby made room on the playground, and that's how the place near the temple became a playground. Simon can often play with the others. The crown prince shouldn't run around wherever he wants. But the imperial palace is too boring. Everyone is busy, but no one needs his son because he only gets in the way. In the castle, the servants grovel, but behind their backs they continue to say nasty things. The young man already realized that they didn't want to play with him, so he ran away every time. Ragnar said that the guy's eye color was beautiful because Daphne thought so too. They are friends, and since this is true, the hero asks to say it out loud. The lady is a little nervous. She does not know whether she is allowed to be familiar with the prince, but since she cannot say anything, the young man allows her to talk about it later. Rara became a new subject of indignation for the future emperor. He noticed that his friend always wears black glasses and says that he has poor eyesight. The friends got along for a couple of moments but returned to how they were before. The hat flies off the girl's head, and she watches as it gradually flies and falls to the ground. Rara and Simon are sulking again, so the heroine carefully gets up to go get the thing herself. Now she is able to walk a short distance without a chair. While picking up an item from the ground, the lady turns around because she notices a strange shadow of a man. It seems that it is Axel, but a strange woman in black appears in front of her. The lady quickly applies a rag to her nose and mouth. She does not answer the question about her identity and watches as the heroine's eyes gradually close. The next in line were the prince and Ragnar. They were carried into a strange van to be carelessly thrown onto the boards. The prince lets out cries of pain. The young man does not understand what is happening. Turning his gaze to the side, he notices his friends, who were also captured by bandits and put to sleep. Screaming to be heard, Rogelio asks, "Who are they?" A man with gray hair promises that the answer to the question asked will soon be received. The Viscount asks why the guy is so afraid. He will understand what will happen to him and his friends, and that is why he will still remain conscious. Now I remember everything. Patrick is a man who was punished for the slave trade, which was prohibited in the Empire. You can't be proud of something that you usually don't want to tell anyone about. The boy annoys the Viscount. He sold several people, but only because of this he was thrown out, even despite everything he managed to do for the Empire. A fake with the wrong eye color must remain silent. The man reminds him of the fact that the prince's friends are here because of him. The father is also to blame because he interfered with Patrick. Before setting off, the boy is also put to sleep. He has no right to try to escape or save his friends. It started to rain outside. Simon can still feel the tips with his finger because from childhood he was prepared for poisoning by adding small amounts of poison to food. The blonde still cannot understand how the hero knew that Clemens would be in the temple. Perhaps someone from the palace reported him. The young man wants to know where they are going, but nothing is visible from the cart. There are about 5 kidnappers, but where they are going there will be more of them. You need to think about how to protect your friends. They have done nothing wrong and do not deserve to be taken to an unknown place and tortured. If Simon fails, it will be over. The boy is called by a woman's voice, who says that they have not slept for a long time. Just about to speak, the lady suddenly says that the carriage has arrived at its destination. They will talk later, but for now the kidnappers want to move the bodies. Everything seems to be fine. The children must be alive, at least until nightfall, and then it will be clear when the main customer arrives. The servant offers to keep an eye on them, but the man refuses. Among them is a prince, but 2 may burst into tears when they wake up, since they are small. It is obvious that the Viscount has finally left. He walked up the stairs, and the children woke up almost immediately, looking around. The poison has a very weak effect on Daphne, so she woke up quite quickly, and it is generally impossible to put Ragnar to sleep. They were lucky. The boy begins to apologize for the fact that they were kidnapped. In fact, there is everyone's fault here, because he came to play with his friends in the temple clearing. They will be able to get out. Rara breaks the ropes, telling Simon to cheer up and ignoring his surprised expression. Judging by the slope of the stairs, they are underground. It is unlikely that they will be able to open the door because they do not have the keys to do this. While the couple discussed their escape plan, the brunette quickly climbed onto the top beam. He laughs back when asked how it happened. There is a passage at the top. There is no point in worrying about what happened because they will definitely be able to get out without getting hurt. The bad people who kidnapped Simon will be punished. Climbing up, the girl points forward because she sees a weak light. Usually the windows are connected to the sewer, and this is a good option to get out. The blonde must get ready because she will have to crawl. Daphne still has not recovered, but pain in her legs is better than death in such a place. No matter what happens, the young man will not allow his girlfriend to die. The friends reached one of the rooms. There is a lot of blood and strange objects everywhere, so it is obvious that slaves were abused there. The young man seems to be feeling unwell. Rara's face turned pale, and the prince himself does not look very good. Even the heroine herself feels bad from such a picture, but she promises that she will hold their hands. Virgo remembers her uncle's words. He spoke about the festival that will take place in the fall, and for which they have been preparing for several days. When they get out, they can go for a walk together. At events, they will wear masks, buy and eat all sorts of goodies, and read books. The girl was already running away from death, and at that time it was incredibly difficult for her, but she managed. She was alone, but here, being with friends, everything will work out. Screams are heard in the corridor. The servants have only recently noticed that the children have run away, so a commotion begins so that they can quickly find them. While the mercenaries go into the distance, the heroes quickly run to another room. The prince decided to carry Daphne, and so they sped up. A faint light can be seen in the distance. The exit is already very close, and they are about to run away, but behind the door they hear the voice of the Viscount, who swears, "The customer will arrive soon." There is nowhere to hide, but in this case you can hide behind the boards that stand nearby. From there you can clearly see Patrick, but you can't see the others. The children must be found immediately. It's good that behind the boards there was an opening in the wall that allowed all three to hide. The man who was going to pick up the children had already arrived. This is Bertolt, who steps forward, greeting an acquaintance. If this man is truly who Daphne thinks about, then this is Ragnar's brother, whom Chloe did not want to look for. Sherbold forbids a man to smile. He is just trying to hide his mistake, but in fact, he doesn't even know where the children are. The young man refuses help. He doesn't want anyone to tell him what to do, because he himself understands perfectly well that he will find them. There was a child in the group named Ragnar. The man offered information in exchange for the boy. He was euthanized as planned. The Viscount remembers how the young man asked to wait until nightfall, and that is why he did not kill the prince, although he really wanted to. The man may be lying, so Bertolt grabs his neck. He hates people who lie mercilessly without even caring what others think. The body falls unconscious to the ground. Before leaving, the brunette says that he thought that he would be able to kill his damn cute brother. As Sherbold approaches the boards, he almost notices the children. They don't want something terrible to happen, so they try to move away and are not noticed. The guards continue to swear about whether the children would have had time to escape or not. Bertolt himself knows that Ragnar is agile and has not been here for a long time. Breathing out a sigh of relief, the friends rejoice that the worst threat is already behind them. The main mercenary orders the others to be silent. He leans against the boards, but feels something, so he moves them aside, noticing the boys. Simon puts his blade forward, ordering him not to approach. The hero surrounded himself with other children so as not to get injured himself. Ragnar asks his friend to put down his weapon, because it could be dangerous. Snatching the thing from his hands, the boy rushes at the mercenary. He swings his weapon, twisting his legs around his neck. Rara orders her friends to run away quickly. He is confident that he can cope on his own because he has fought before. The young man is thrown back, torn from the killer's hair. He hits his head when he hears the promise of being sent to a torture chamber after the customer arrives. Sherbold is unharmed, but his glasses fell to the ground. He clutches his face in horror, realizing exactly what he has gotten himself into, trying to fix everything. The prince notices that his friend has pupils like those of a reptile, and this is the first time he has seen something like that. Even ordinary eyes cannot be compared. The hero continues to examine his face, but the lady can't stand it any longer and screams at him louder. You can hear the stomping of people in the distance, but no one seems to care. Even if Rara and Simon are completely different, this does not mean that anything will change. They must all get out together and avoid death. A man appears behind him and laughs evilly. The kids should have run while they had the chance instead of talking. It seems that the end has come, but Sherbold comes to the rescue. He grabs the knife, rushing forward at the criminal, who was about to attack. The young man asks his friends to run away. He will be able to do everything necessary alone and run away to hell. He thanks the girl for bringing him to his senses. Simon will take care of Daphne, but that's not possible yet, since they haven't gotten out yet. Rara is left alone against a bunch of opponents who want to do harm. In his head, the hero asks his friend for forgiveness for leaving his friend alone, because that's how it should be. They reached the exit, and all that remained was to open the door. If they escape, it is unclear what will happen to the person who was left all alone and trying to protect himself and the others. The young man tells his friend that he will come back. Shearbold looks pretty strong, but that doesn't mean anything. It's still difficult for him to cope with so many adults alone. The girl gave courage not only to her first friend. Everything will be fine, so you just need to wait until Simon returns Rara. Virgo bows her head. She blames herself for being completely useless in such a situation and unable to do anything. Thoughts are interrupted by voices coming from behind the door. The girl is afraid that there are even more mercenaries there, who will certainly not let them leave. The door opens from the foot. Axel appears in the passage, shouting to the guys that he has come to save them. Leaning down, the young man hugs the girl. He was worried that it would be too late, or that something would happen to them. The prince's cry is heard from afar. He calls to the Duke to help, still standing with his arms outstretched to protect the already wounded brunette. Without even a second's delay, the hero orders the Temple Knights to capture every single one of them. They quickly realize that they are in a terrible situation. The mercenaries will not be able to withstand the knights, and now this becomes clear. The blonde catches his highness as he plummets to the ground. It's Axel's fault because he's the one in charge of the temple grounds. If someone finds out, a showdown will begin, as well as suspicions. His Majesty does not suspect the Duke of anything because he knows that he would not do such a thing. There is nothing wrong. Before leaving, the young man approaches Rara. His hand has already been bandaged, so his condition has improved significantly. He hands over the glasses. The hero asks for forgiveness for talking about glasses over and over again. In fact, he doesn't care about the boy's eye color or pupils. The blonde rushes to meet her friends. She still can't move too quickly, but she was very worried that they wouldn't come back. There is no point in crying because now everything is in perfect order. The girl should calm down and digest the situation, looking for some positives. Lennox also somehow ended up in this place. He says that all the criminals have been captured and the Crown Prince has gone to rest separately in the carriage. As soon as the man heard the latest news, he immediately rushed over. He had no right to miss what happened and see his sister. Mom stayed at home, and Ricardo helps the Grand Duke clean up the mess. They should all come back together and not worry so much. The young man went to the criminals who were caught. In total, there were 13 people there, while 11 were dead. Because of these people, the youngest was very frightened and almost hurt. They were going to kill her, which makes her incredibly angry. I would like to cause them all pain that is impossible to bear. But there are many eyes around. It will have to wait because asking something like this is unrealistic. If Chloe had been here, everyone would have died within seconds. The building begins to burn. Death will not happen immediately, so criminals can enjoy the moment. The knights standing outside with Ricardo watch as the house is engulfed in flames. This man is truly a great wizard. One of my friends puts forward his protest. The Viscount is dead, but this territory still belongs to him, which means starting a fire is not a good idea. No one locked the mercenaries there. The front door is open, so all they have to do is get out, and then the knights will grab them from outside. Even if someone loses their life in the fire, each of them can still be decapitated for treason and threats towards the heir. The man continues to appear, which is annoying. If the problem is in the building owned by the Viscount, then the Benedetto family will simply buy it. There are no more objections, but there is something interesting left. On the cloaks of the knights there is a coat of arms belonging to the Duke of Charonis. As the warriors said, they encountered the Temple Knights by accident. The head noticed suspicious people and pursued them to the last. Too suspicious because there are too many coincidences. Apparently, Patrick was involved in the kidnapping of the children, but the prince had no idea who killed him. Perhaps this whole mess had something to do with the Duke, or it could easily have been someone else. The prince and princess are engaged, but Mary does not appear in the temple. Only a few months have passed. Everything that happened has long since settled down, and the long-awaited autumn has arrived, which will bring with it the festival. A girl sits at a table in front of a sheet of paper. She writes to Simon saying they are doing great. They have already come up with masks for the upcoming event. After that summer night, an article about the kidnapping of the heir appeared in the newspapers, and security in the temple increased significantly. The rest of the attackers were sentenced to death. The uncle said that the emperor paid compensation, but this is trivial. Chloe was furious. She believed that since they were the Benedetto family, who also suffered, they should at least receive an apology. The blonde doesn't want to go into details, so she simply says that she's glad that they'll see each other at the festival. Afterwards, the mother promised to take the baby with her to work. The letter has been completed. The Virgin is about to go for a walk, but someone beats on the door ahead of her. It turned out to be Lennox, who wants to talk. It's amazing how Daphne can now walk without any problems. The young man offers to go into the living room to show the surprise that they have prepared. The uncle hands over the box, which is immediately opened. Inside were beautiful masks of different colors. The butler smiles. He colored them exactly as the young lady had asked, and handed them over as soon as he finished. Simon will be at the event, so that's a good thing. Surviving and overcoming all adversity is the most important thing. On the day of the festival, the couple went to the Empire. The friend never said what kind of mask he would be wearing, thereby annoying his friends. The blonde tries to cheer up Rara. Perhaps it was because His Highness wanted to arrange a surprise. Ragnar perked up a bit. He was depressed for some time after the spraying until he received the mask. On the day of the kidnapping, Sherbold saw his older brother, which should have depressed him. The guy's heart is big. She hopes that he won't get hurt. Daphne just wanted to hug the guy, but the older brother put his hand forward, warning them not to cross the line. At that moment, the beauty felt joy and did not suspect that she would meet the daughter of her enemy. Upon arrival at the festival, the couple immediately put on masks. Through them, you can clearly see everything around, although it seemed that this would not happen. The uncle says that the children have good masks, but the prince himself is worried about them. He assures you that you need to wear one like his. The lion is the symbol of the Clemens Empire. Not to spoil the boys' mood further, the lady says that they both look cool. They owe it to themselves to have some fun. The last memories were not the best, so it's worth replacing them with happy ones. The Duke leads the children to a stand that contains a variety of sweets and chicken. You need to try everything. All sugared fruit tastes the same, but after a second the lady takes it back. A strawberry appears in front of her. The children begin to gather around Benedito to tell the story of the shop. Strawberries are stored in a magical warehouse. After some time, the assembled group begins to introduce their names one by one and say that they are glad to meet you. There is no point in denying it, because such an event is really a good place to make new friends. Rara and Simon arrive just in time. New acquaintances offer to go play hide and seek, but the prince refuses. Clemens thinks they can have fun on their own, just being the three of them. You don't need other people to help create the atmosphere. The blonde doesn't agree. She wants to play with everyone, but she knows that someone will have to carry her because it is still impossible to run. Another skirmish begins. Rara wants to carry the girl on her back, but the air is taller, so she thinks differently. After a while, everything got better. None of the adults complain that they are noisy. Ragnar doesn't complain anymore, and they just enjoy the moment. The children are going to rest. One of them notices the kids from the orphanage just around the corner who also want to play. These are the same people who bullied Daphne. No one will recognize her, and she will not hide in a dark corner so as not to get it. The girl doesn't really want to get involved with those who offended her before. They have already started the game, so nothing will happen. Simon turns away in surprise. He thought that his girlfriend would agree, but overall he thinks about the same. A girl in a beautiful dress interrupts a conversation between friends. She asks about permission to play together. You always have to introduce yourself first, so Maria says her name. I just want to lose with my friends. The little girl asks if the beauty can hide on her own, because it will be uncomfortable for the boy. He assures that Daphne will not interfere. Maria should not be interested in what is happening with them. A friend will never become a burden. Rara calms down after the maiden explains everything. She tells the brunette that playing hide and seek isn't the best idea ever. The heroine begins to apologize. This is her first time playing with someone, so she apologizes for saying something wrong. Simon points to the Duke, who looks bored. They are already leaving, even if it is too early. I want to spend time with my family. The brunette doesn't understand what happened. It seems that everything is because of her, so she asks to play a little more. The girl does not understand why her friend behaves this way. He seems to know this person, and judging by the clothes, the little girl is from the aristocracy. Realization comes quickly, but the heroine tries to erase it from her memory. She runs to the Duke, who takes her in his arms. Uncle is not dad, but he remains an honorable candidate for this role. The lady asks if the acquaintance knows Maria. After a pause, the heir says that she is most likely his future bride, who is in the family of the Duke of Hronis. The girl really wanted to play with everyone. When the mother accompanied the girl to the city, she promised that she would have a lot of fun, because she was sociable. The guys didn't like the girl. She knows that Euless could not be wrong, so she invites the children from the orphanage to play together. The others look on with disapproval. Not everyone wants to play with children like this, who are quite strange. But in the end, everyone agrees. On the way back, the heroine only thought about who could become Simon's wife. Obviously, this is Maria Heronis. Virgo didn't think that they would meet so easily. Ragnar will remain close to the beauty, so Clemens will definitely get married. Marie grew up to be a bright woman without flaws. Simon looked at her with love, but hated her with passion. In the future, having abandoned exorcism, he will be able to convey his feelings. I don't want Rara to disappear somewhere. The lady herself does not notice how she shudders when they take her hand and ask about her well-being. It's nice to know there are friends nearby who will worry. There is no problem, so the lady is lying. Finally, the carriage arrived at Daphne's mother's work. This is the building of the main trading guild in the Empire, which is famous. There is chaos inside. People run from side to side, but at the same time they perform all the tasks assigned to them just perfectly. In order not to distract the others, the young man directly looks for Salvador. He is one of the most important assistants who is glad to see the Duke. Squatting down, the man greets Daphne. She looks like Axelius's daughter, even if that's actually not quite right. Lowering the girl to the ground, he offers to go to Chloe. She's not here, so they won't inspect the building. They drive into the distance through their uncle's territory. They all belong only to him. Coming out of the carriage, the lady does not know which hand to accept and settles on accepting both. Mother meets the children and immediately takes the girl in her arms. She asks how the day was and is happy that everything is fine. Next time they go to the main building together, but this time there is one very important matter in this garden. Under the tree they are standing near, their mother's memories are hidden. They are buried underground. It's time to dig out the box. This had to happen either earlier or later, so we chose a middle ground. 10 years ago, during the Autumn Festival, a treasure trove containing important things was buried there. Axel and Salvador also left behind some important things. After 10 minutes, a box appears in the man's hands. Expensive things that keep memories were put into the little thing. In the future, it became something more important than anything else. The first step is to take out a blade and a sleep mask. There's also a strange cord that is cut off on one side. Things are intact thanks to magic. When the young man was young, he did not sleep well, and a sleep mask helped. The dagger that keeps Chloe alive was a gift from Axelius. The Duke buried the wishing bracelet. It protected the man, but then it tore, so it was buried as a memory. Adults discuss their past. Everyone unanimously agrees to leave them alone to think about their past. While the guys were walking, Simon suggested doing the same. The best thing to do would be to find important things and bury them too. The description of the picture, how everything will be, does not sound bad. The box will be opened the same way in 10 years. Almost immediately, the children began discussing what to put inside and where exactly to bury it. The best option is to go to Daphne. Outsiders will be allowed in there, since this is a prince, and this is not some kind of fortress. The blonde nods in agreement. In this case, they will prepare everything they need before doing anything. After much thought, Daphne decided that she would write letters for everyone. They will be special and with messages that matter. Expressing your feelings on paper and conveying them into the future is much easier than it seems. Virgo got it done pretty quickly. As soon as friends read the messages, they will immediately become happy, because they will remember their adventures. Opening the door of the box, the lady looks at the seal. This was an important thing for the owner of the shelter, and it can also be buried. We arrived at the picnic exactly at the time everything was scheduled. Uncle did not sleep well, so he falls asleep almost on the move. Everyone around also wants to sleep, as if the drowsiness is spreading. The couple could not sleep as they thought about the walk almost all night. The Duke burst into tears because the children were worried that he didn't get enough sleep. Sometimes his reaction becomes a little funny. The man suggests going into the house and sleeping, but he is assured that this is not the best idea. They can stay where they already are. 15 minutes later, the blonde fell asleep. He began to snore, so a recheck was not necessary. Putting all the necessary things in one bag, the girl says that everything needs to be buried. They can use magic too. What was done will remain a little secret that will not be known. In 10 years, it will all be over. While the guys were rejoicing, Benedito wondered why it was so easy to do something like this on the grounds of the mansion. It seems that my uncle has not slept all this time. The guys were making too much noise, so it was not surprising that he woke up. Sighing, the girl turns away. She is sure that Chaynard will not tell anyone, but she will have to hide for 10 years that they were discovered. Time began to fly even faster than usual. Winter has arrived, bringing with it cold weather that you want to forget about. A whole year has already passed, and a lot has happened during this time. It seemed to the lady that this calm life was a dream that would end. In the park, the couple noticed their mother and her brothers. They disappeared from sight quite quickly, and the rain only made the situation worse. The mud is too sticky to move around properly. The beauty already regrets that everything turned out this way because she cannot move her legs. The girl does not want to become a burden and ask for help, but her legs are not yet accustomed to the load that has fallen on her. Ragnar himself noticed that the beauty was uncomfortable. He stops, asking if her friend wants to be carried on her back. The boy always helps for no reason, and this time even the rain doesn't bother him at all. Still, I agree. The maiden sits on the back of the young man. She asks for forgiveness but smiles, making it clear that everything is fine. On the way, the friends manage to meet a fox cub, which was several times smaller than in the pictures. He doesn't seem okay. The baby is still breathing, but since it is in the wild, it does not eat normally to gain strength. In this case, the baby gets the apple. Strangely, the fox liked the treat that was offered to him. Rara left an umbrella for the animal, and they moved on. There is a fork ahead that leads in different directions. The little fox appeared again, as if out of nowhere. All this time he has been following the saviors, and now he is running to the left. The kid stops only to look at the people who have stopped. He wants them to follow him. The thickets become much denser, but ahead a huge cage appears, near which the whole family has gathered. Mother notices those who have arrived and exclaims in surprise. They were just interested, so they had to move forward. It was possible by chance to get lost, but they bravely endured all the hardships and were able to reach the finish line. Lennox smiles as Ragnar says that these two are constantly creating new problems for themselves that are completely unnecessary. Pointing his hand to the side, the young man asks his friend what kind of fox this is. She completely forgot about his presence. The lady completely forgot that there were many dungeons in the second part of the original, but Rara always claimed that he was not afraid of getting lost. A fox guide helped him. This animal needs to go home. Asking her mother for permission, the lady hears her immediately agree. Raising someone is a huge responsibility, but each of them promises to look after him and do everything possible to make life better. Chloe nods. Don't forget about the importance of life and treat the little fox as a friend and a new family member. The baby makes funny noises, so they are going to name him Kiki. Caring is the most important thing in the world. Switching the topic, the blonde points her finger at a nearby cage, which looks rather strange. She doesn't understand what it is. This is a dragon prison. There was a legend that a dragon lived many years ago on a mountain, but according to the tale, the forces that attacked the country were punished. Everyone paid for the atrocities they committed just in this prison. Chloe reminds them not to go in there. Toddlers love to get involved in bad things, but that's not what you should do. Once entered, it is impossible to leave the cage without the dragon's permission. The doors are open, but then they won't open again. Rara walks forward, extending her hand to the bars, which are very close. Ricardo grabs the boy's arms in time. The family starts asking if he's okay, but prison just seems familiar. The feeling of closeness does not leave the young guy, but he has already been scolded for the way he behaves and where he interferes. Kiki was also afraid of prison, so the lady was determined never to go there. Soon you will have to disobey the prohibitions. The night, as usual, brought with it many thoughts. The lady can't believe that tomorrow is the anniversary of Freyne's death. The girl doesn't even know where the body is, so thinking that her mother knows, she goes to her office, asking permission to enter. Stopping right in front of the desk, the beauty hesitates in place. Noticing problems, Chloe offers milk to calm her down. The girl added a little honey, thereby making the drink much tastier and more soothing than it was before. Gaining strength, the lady asks what happened to her birth mother's body. She's still worried. The Benedito family took care of this. There are many oddities in Freyne's accusation because she was punished too harshly for the princess of the Oswald Empire. The blonde freezes in horror. She did not know about such details, all the time thinking that there was no point in going deeper. The Virgin tries to calm down, asking why the princess received such a cruel punishment and why she was not helped. Daphne herself could not do anything due to her age, but adults could. There is a civil war going on in Oswald. Ever since Freyne's imprisonment, the girl's brothers had been fighting a war for the throne, and it was a rather bloody battle to the death. The crime must be serious because in the original, people hated her so much that they even killed her daughter. The girl really doesn't understand what the princess did to the people from the slums to make them so angry with her. It all happened 8 years ago when people started disappearing. It seemed as if Freyne was sacrificing them to the cursed wife of Chironis. She had been watching the Duke all this time, and everyone decided that she was blinded by jealousy. This can't be true. The baby still remembers the hands that gently held her. The woman was locked in the tower and kept calling for her husband. There really are a lot of strange things in this case. Chloe doesn't believe this was all true, so she does her own investigation. During the trial, there was not enough evidence, but the verdict was still passed. The judges seemed to be trying to finish quickly. Freyne's death is just a piece of the puzzle for the couple's happy ending. If it weren't for Julius, the Empire could have helped her not die so painfully. Benedito hugs the crying girl. She promises to make her as happy as her own mother and to do everything possible. All the small details of the investigation will soon become clear. The girl has never heard of cheating, so this also surprises her. Axelius enters the room. Apparently, he was standing outside the door discussing with Chloe the meeting with Simon at the temple, asking if they talked about Freyne. I want to discuss everything later, but the blonde begins to put together a puzzle in his head. That is why they did not tell him who the baby's father was. She is Freyne's daughter. Hatred or disappointment seems to freeze on the young man's face, so Daphne hurries to head to her room. The man seemed angry or disappointed in Benedito. The relationship will never be the same, and it won't fix anything. Entering the room, the young lady notices Kiki at her feet. He woke up by pure chance, but it helps a lot. The girl is glad that he exists. Before going to bed, the lady decided to go to Rara. He sure knows how to lighten the mood, so she knocks on the door, watching the sleepy expression on her face. Daphne began to cry relentlessly. Perhaps she just had a bad nightmare, but the young man promises to banish all doubts. There is pitch darkness all around, which takes over the consciousness, but the boy shines so brightly, illuminating the way out to the light. He will always be there, just like the little fox. The blonde starts crying again. I can't believe that Chloe dared to lie, saying that this was her daughter, and not the villain who was in the tower. The heroine does not see any problems. This is not her natural child, but she is also considered a daughter because everyone is already used to her. Axelius doesn't understand how it is that he isn't trustworthy. Perhaps this is because the man is a member of the imperial family. Chaynard has always been proud of his noble origin, but in front of this woman he feels terribly ashamed. Axel doesn't want to force his love into anything, but just wants honesty, which goes both ways. Starting the story, the lady mentioned that the baby found her herself. The beatings at the orphanage were too much after. She was simply thrown into the slums. Those around her could not leave the baby alone, and that is why she lived in terrible conditions that were not suitable for a child. Daphne injured her leg while fulfilling a request with a flower and almost died, but she said that this was not the worst thing. An innocent child begged for help. She was simply trying to escape death, and if Daphne had revealed her secret, life would have become much more complicated. The woman knows that Axel can be trusted, but because of what was happening, she was very worried and could not tell the truth. The girl once again has a nightmare. It's as if someone is catching up with her, and at the last moment she wakes up, jumping. This is just a dream, because there it's not so scary to fall into someone's hands. The little fox was also a little scared because of the way the mistress was behaving. Rara slept nearby but never woke up. Lennox, who was checking on the condition, said the boy had a high fever. The young man regrets that he will not be able to go to the performance. He also wanted to see Simon, but now nothing will work out. Virgo doesn't know how she can leave completely alone, but she has been waiting for this performance for a very long time, so she cannot refuse. Extending his hand to his friend, the brunette promises that everything will be fine, hoping that his friends will have fun even without him. The kid was also looking forward to going to the city, but still thinks about Benedito. Very soon she will return back to the estate. On the way to their destination, silence fell in the carriage. They used to always chat amicably, but now that won't happen anymore. Starting the conversation, the girl says that she did not want to deceive. Mom is not to blame either, because the heroine herself asked to come to her house. The girl says as if she did something bad. The child of a sinner is not to blame for anything, because he builds his own life. The lady still believes that nothing is changing, since she remains the daughter of the villain. They should hate her and wish the worst. Jumping up from his seat, the blonde asks again, but the baby shrinks. She thought she was going to get hit. This is a habit that was left over from the shelter, and it's a shame. The young man did not want to do anything bad and will keep the secret until the last. Half an hour later, the cart arrived at the Empire. The girl quickly jumps out to see Simon. They had not seen each other for a long time, but Ragnar never arrived. He has a high fever, but it looks like a common cold that will go away soon. This simple conversation helped calm me down. The lady is happy that she has friends and hopes that this will never end. The Duke, upon entering the theater, notices the paladins who have gathered in one place. We need to figure it out, but leaving the children alone is not the best solution. When the man finally left, the young man asked about their quarrel. In fact, it is impossible to tell all the details, so the girl just smiles. The show begins. In one state, there lived a man and a woman who loved each other. Their meeting was fate that brought lovers together. When they wanted to confess, the jealous woman began to interfere with love. She used all sorts of curses to keep the couple apart. While pursuing the couple, she killed quite a few people, but soon the criminal was put behind bars. The inseparable lovers overcame all adversity and lived happily ever after. This story is about a villain who gets her comeuppance and a rewarded bride who earns her place. The story seemed disgusting. Clemens agrees with the unpleasantness of the story, but also notices the state of Daphne, who has hung her head. Duke Chironis returned just in time. He noticed His Highness, glad that he also came to watch the performance. The man notices the young lady behind him. She is shy, so the acquaintance will take place some other time. Nobody will recognize her for sure, because a lot of time has passed. Euless runs out from behind the stage saying that she is worried. The darling ran away quite quickly without even explaining where exactly. The woman notices the young prince and immediately understands what exactly was the reason for his quick departure. The brunette is glad to meet you. She is the wife of a duke and is also a much more polite person than her husband. This woman is the main character. It was because of her that Freyne died, because she was the one who fell in love with a man and took him away. Maria rushes towards us, who obviously had also been there all this time. She really liked the performance they watched. Simon hears that the performance was put on by the Chironis family. This is dubious entertainment that costs nothing. People should not forget such a story, but the young man does not think so. No one has the right to reveal the personal life of the family. Maria tries to resist. The performance was staged especially for my mother, because my father fell in love with her at first sight. It was as if the girl had been doused with cold water. She did not know that the Duke was the first to fall in love with his wife, forgetting about Freyne. The boy asks if the man has children from his previous marriage. There was a girl in the orphanage, but it was the daughter of the villain, not his. The hero forgot who he was originally married to. That child died in an orphanage, and if she had been sent to her mother's homeland, this would not have happened. It's sad that a 7-year-old child died in a fire without even deserved it. Julia opens her mouth in surprise, not understanding anything. The warehouses suddenly burned down and only one baby died. The lady quietly asks her father what would have happened if the man was still alive. If the child still lives in this world, then he is sorry. She deserves not to be around normal people. It is better to die young than to bear the sin of your parents all your life. This expression seems absurd, especially from the lips of Chironis. Daphne takes off and runs out of the hall. She doesn't understand why she hated only Ulissa, because it was the Duke who brought her mother to death. Running out onto the road, the baby stumbles. She falls to the ground with a crash and only then notices the rushing horses. The prince noticed that his friend seemed not to be herself. Her relationship with the Grand Duke suddenly changed, and she sat sad throughout the performance. The brunette just snorts, not even paying attention to the girl's departure. According to him, a well-bred child would not behave like that. Frowning, the man gives advice that you shouldn't let someone in who doesn't fit your status, so as not to regret it in the future. The young man is able to figure everything out on his own. If the interlocutor wants to make his daughter a princess, there is no need to put on such disgusting ideas. Without saying another word, the hero grabs his wife and daughter and leaves the hall. He looks insulted and humiliated. Looking after those leaving, the prince wonders how they can be so shameless. They should have thought before they acted. The young man goes outside to find Daphne. He doesn't know where she could have disappeared so unexpectedly. A crowd of people attracts attention. On the road lies the Grand Duke, who covers the little girl with himself, thereby saving her. The heroine still cannot realize that she almost died. She's scared to imagine what could have happened if all this were true. The girl realizes that the book is trying to restore the course of the plot. That evening, the cheerful Rara also fell ill, which became a sign. The production was staged by Duke Hronis, and it was about Freyne, who was imprisoned long ago inside the castle in a tower. The girl tried to escape and almost fell under the wheels of the cart. Realizing what could have happened makes it even scary. Death is still nearby, no matter how the heroine tries to avoid it. She realizes that nothing is wrong, so she cannot answer Simon. If the friend knew that the baby was the daughter of a villain, it would most likely separate them. It's scary to admit what is true. All this time, things could not have been worse. The lady pretended that everything was fine, but in reality, it was not at all like that. The one who became a light for her was Ragnar, who was left all alone. She misses him, although she saw him only recently. After a while, the lady opens her eyes. She didn't even realize how she got home, but her mother's voice brought her to her senses. The doctor said that the girl was not injured, but in fact, there were still worries. The heroine asks where Sherbold is. Ragnar is resting in a separate room. The blonde doesn't want to stop because she urgently needs to see the one she misses. The room is empty. The lady does not know where the boy went because he promised to wait where he was when she left for the festival. The girl notices her friend in the corner. He looks with pitiful eyes, but then orders Daphne to run while she still has the chance. Everything is too strange to fully comprehend, but within seconds the guy is already rushing with a knife, still begging to run away. Rika came running into the room in time and noticed everything that was happening. He throws the boy back with a circle of magic. The blonde is afraid that there is no way out. She realized that she was still inside a story that was trying to change everything. Ragnar wanted to kill his girlfriend. Perhaps Freyne really was a terrible sinner, or maybe she was made this way for the sake of the heroes. If this is true, then Daphne must also become a sacrifice for the sake of a happy future for others in this story. Tears flow down her cheeks, but the lady still does not want to give up. She remembers the promise she clearly made when she left the orphanage. The lady will definitely change the plot of the original. She must make the people around her happy. Lennox and Ricardo discuss what happened to their mother. She says that her daughter is still sleeping, but Ragnar, on the contrary, is worried. The magic had ended, but now, as if again, everything had returned to normal. This kind of puzzle drives the young man crazy. Rara can't trust herself because she's afraid of hurting someone. He decided to lock himself in a cage. This is all because of the heroine's greed. She tried to stay close to the one who was supposed to be in charge, and now fate punished her for this. Walking outside the estate, the girl sits Kiki on the ground, asking him to take her to the cage where her friend is sitting. We need to fix what happened before it's too late. The boy blames himself, but doesn't really understand that it's not all his fault. Noticing Daphne, the young man almost immediately begins to apologize. He didn't want to spoil anything or attack. Forcing Ragnar to listen carefully, the maiden reveals that she has known their future for a long time and what it should be. She knows for sure that she will not die and will live happily ever after. These words serve more as a consolation. Once upon a time, Daphne was very afraid of death, so she fled to the place where she definitely had the right to survive. In the future, the young man will become an heir and will also become close to another girl and live in marriage with her. She knows all this in detail. It sounds ridiculous, but that was exactly the plot of one of the books. This isn't a real story, so Sherbold doesn't immediately believe it. The girl ran from death for a long time and thought that it was all over, but now it is clear that if you want to change the future, you need to change everything. If the lady stays next to her friend, he will definitely try to kill her. The guy doesn't understand how a friend in her right mind can talk about something like that, and doesn't believe that they are in the book. The boy screams desperately. He's not going to kill Benedito because he considers her someone important. Ragnar has the right to be offended by the words that will be said, but in reality, they are not destined to be together. Rara still tries to say something, but the girl interrupts him. The fatigue from screaming is growing, and she just wants to live. I want to run away from worries about when she will die. To do this, you need to change the ruthless fate that interferes. In this case, the brunette must close the cage. This is what he can do to disappear once and for all. Benedito shouldn't cry over trifles. It's hard for a guy to see the tears of someone he cares about more than himself. The cage closes. Not understanding what to do next, the maiden rushes off to call someone for help. The girl woke up the next morning, along with her mother, who had fallen asleep next to her. She doesn't remember how she ended up in bed. I remember how she spoke to Rara when they went into the forest. After this, all memories are swallowed up by a fog that makes it impossible to remember anything. Horror covers the mind, so the baby jumps out of bed. They urgently need to do something to get the young man. Helping the girl get dressed, the woman promises that everything will be fine. They can go together with Lennox to get into the forest. There was no cage in the forest, but only a trace of blood in that very place. It was as if the lady had killed her friend in order to survive on her own. If the girl had not tried to change her fate at all, everything would have been fine. Now it is unclear where the young man disappeared to. Chloe realizes that Ragnar did the wrong thing. If he had only seen Daphne at that moment when she was sobbing in the forest, he would definitely have understood everything without question. The woman wanted the boy to have good memories, but for some reason, everything turned out differently. Nothing worked out for them, and these are purely someone else's problem. Axelius knows that his daughter is not well. Even now he doesn't know how he can help, so he looks helpless even in this small matter. Turning to Chloe, the young man asks if everything is okay if the girl is not with her now, and left her completely alone in the room. The blonde knows that her daughter is sleeping, and she needs to finish her work before she wakes up. Later, she will deal with the rest of the important papers. In winter, there should be less worries, but here the problem is completely different. The family decided to leave the Clemens Empire. The girl was ill for a long time, and got back on her feet only after a week. She doesn't know why everything happened to Ragnar and not to her. Noticing her mother, the baby immediately hugs her. She sincerely asks for forgiveness for all the things she has done wrong. The girl will still remain the heir, and there is no need to say that she is stupid. One mistake doesn't mean anything at all. Smiling, the mother asks the baby if she would like to visit outside the empire. A trip would help unwind. The girl is unhappy being in one place, and even more so, such a large guild cannot remain in one place. They can explore the mainland as a family to see what they all need most. This may be considered an escape, but it is still important. Mom does not receive an exact answer, and instead, she is asked about what they were talking about that very night in the office. Many corpses were found in the basement of Duke Hieronis's estate, but no one tried to cast a curse. There was no evidence of Freyne's guilt, and the servants could not say anything definite. The trial will end suspiciously quickly. This is still doubtful given the cunning of that person. If the girl's father had turned out to be the criminal, he would have been able to defend himself and not receive such a punishment, and then death. Having such power, the man did nothing, even if he no longer loves the villainess. This is because he made up the accusations himself. Chloe apologizes for not researching the case a little better to know exactly what to do next. It was as if someone was deliberately interfering with the investigation, trying to lead it astray. Perhaps the original is trying to return everything to normal. If, by the will of the book, the villainous mother died, then it will be difficult to avoid the fate written down on paper. We can only hope that everything can be fixed. Freyne's name will be cleared, and the girl herself will live happily. There's a long way to go. Now the girl will no longer be afraid of death. Ragnar is dead, and it can't get any worse, because everything will only get better. Now the lady is going to not only survive, but also protect everyone else. Previously, the goals were slightly different. That is why the lady must become stronger and cope with everything. She invites Chloe to go to Oswald. Simon received the news almost immediately the next day. He couldn't believe that Rara was gone just like that. Daphne, in turn, cannot meet the guy because she and her family are leaving the Empire for another country. Turning to the Duke, the young man tries to find out the truth. From his facial expression, it becomes clear that he knew everything from the very beginning. Dressing quickly, the boy tries to run away quickly to visit the girl before it's too late. That evening, the family left the Empire. Axelius went to Benedito's estate immediately after receiving the letter, but in the end nothing worked because no one was there. Something happened that day, but what exactly is not clear. The boy's eye color and pupils were always this way because of his illness, but perhaps there was something else there. If such a sudden death was caused by an illness, then this is sad. But for some reason, the family packed up their things in a hurry, refusing a funeral. Something is definitely wrong. But Chaynard has no right to tell a secret that is not his own, which they are already trying with all their might to keep it all over. The young man remembers what happened the day before. A friend had a strange reaction to a play about a villainess. Everything became much worse when Chironis arrived. The girl seemed to be afraid of him, or was trying with all her might to hide. I can't believe that Daphne is not the daughter of the head of the guild. Amber eyes are common among nobles, but only the Duke has this color. Realizing that the solution is already very close, The young man asks when the orphanage burned down. This happened around last winter. If that child did survive, this means that the blonde is Frayn's own daughter, who died in the tower. Having learned about this, the man could have kicked them out. But this is not true. He was stunned, but did not think to do anything wonderful. Benedito wanted to leave quietly so as not to disturb His Highness. Everything was known in advance, but nothing was said. The young man lowers his head, almost crying. He had to protect his girlfriend if he couldn't protect his friend. This sunny child made the prince a full-fledged person who is not so afraid of the world. Now everything has become clear, but the girl has already left. Duke Coronis arrived at the palace on the occasion of the engagement. The prince goes forward so that they will not be suspected of anything. The guy has an obligation to protect his girlfriend, among other things, so he sits silently, thinking about a plan of what needs to be done. After a pause, the young man says that he wants to refuse to enter into an engagement with Maria. Mom doesn't understand what the problem is. This family is quite important in the aristocratic society and will not be just a burden in the royal palace. If you need gold, then you should look only for the most brilliant. The boy speaks as if he knows another golden-eyed girl. Compared to Mary, this person is better. In fact, they cannot even be compared because her eyes shine brighter than anyone else's. The Duke jumps up from his seat, starting to scream. It is impossible for this to be true, because they are clearly trying to insult him. After such words, the family no longer has any desire to contact the prince. They will no longer be seen on the threshold of the castle, and this is for the best. A smile appears on the young man's face almost immediately. Since Sherbold is no more, the future emperor will protect Benedito himself. A huge dragon flies into the sky. He noticed that something had happened and heard a strange noise, so he immediately became alert. Turning into a man, the young man snorts. I can't believe that there are people left who have the desire to hunt dragons. A cage appeared in the forest, which was transported as if from somewhere in a distant empire. There is a person lying inside. This is a baby dragon that is in human form. He lies unconscious or just sleeping. It seems that the baby has begun the second stage of awakening. The man examines the body from all sides to make sure. Dragons were almost all extinct, but somehow this specimen survived. He promises to save the young man while it is still possible. The brunette remembers coughing and seeing blood. At this moment, the eyes open, and the light hits the face brightly, forcing you to squint. The man clearly remembers being in the dragon's cage, but now somehow he is lying in a soft bed in a strange house. The man with blue hair smiles. He thought that it would take another 5 years to awaken, but in the end, everything happened quite quickly. A skirmish begins. The boy does not know about his race, so he does not understand what we are talking about. He is not a dragon. Obviously, it doesn't dawn on the hero yet, but he's not really human. This is an illusion worth maintaining. Dragons are a great race, superior to humans in everything, and he is one of them. This is not nonsense or fiction. There's no point in denying the eyes are the best proof of this, because the pupils are like those of a reptile. The young man does not know his age and seems to have grown too slowly. Usually, dragons grow immediately after waking up, and before that, the boy was not even sick, but then he developed a fever. Everything that is described is a symptom of awakening, which is the most obvious of all the others. Ragnar has also changed noticeably. He jumps out of bed and runs to the mirror, where he is overcome by horror from the picture he sees in the mirror. The young man slept for only 3 years. Although he looks like an adult, he is still a child who needs to be taught on the path of truth. It is not clear why the man is helping, but according to him, this is just the old man's entertainment before his death. The young man promises to teach how to be a dragon and how not to need for anything. From now on, he is a mentor, and although it will take a long time, it will be worth it. The boy immediately refuses. He needs to find Daphne, who gave him the desire to live. I always want to be with her. The mentor had already heard about the union between a dragon and a man, but a shorter age was measured for a man, so a seal was created. Thanks to her, you can divide your life into 2. Interest awakens in the brunette's eyes. He wants to know more, so he asks how to create this seal yourself. If a man tells you right away, it won't be interesting. First, you should start with the basics, and then you can move up a step. Sherbold nods his head. He will do what he promised to do, thereby helping his friend survive. Daphne's future seems too bleak, but if you try, it can be changed at least this way. 2 years passed, which dragged on rather slowly. The family now often spent time outside the Clemens Empire. The girl felt bad, but now everything is fine, because she was looking forward to this trip so much. Now she is already 13 years old. They arrived in the port city of Jackseed. The air around is pleasant and salty. I want to breathe it all day long for the rest of my life. The sea is nearby, so you urgently need shelter from the wind. Ricardo puts a cloak on his sister, thereby saving her and Kiki, who is sitting in the hood. Mom went to sort out her luggage. She asked the family to meet her in the living room as soon as they arrived. The hotel is expensive because it is located on the main road leading to Oswald. The city is small, but there are a lot of people. That's why everything is so luxurious. Ricardo switches from admiring the buildings to the fact that this city has a coliseum. They must visit it. The guys promise to tell everything along the way. The girl is recovering, but it's best to try to be careful. This arrangement does not suit the beauty. She thinks she feels great, so she doesn't want to put up with anything. Rika promised to tell him more, but he simply ran away because Chloe needed help. Only the little fox remained. It has been 5 years since the family began traveling outside the Clemens Empire. Each time it was incredibly interesting. As soon as the lady agreed to the trip for the first time, Mom transferred all responsibilities to Salvador, who did not expect such a turn of events. The Benedito family went on a trip to the mainland. Then they crossed the ocean and are now on their way to Oswald. The brothers are improving in alchemy, but the maidens haven't even thought about returning home for 5 years. In different empires, Chloe resolved issues with food supplies, and the maiden visited temples to cure her leg. Now everything will be completely fine. At first, the lady was afraid that she would never recover, but in the end, this turned out to be not true at all. Simon should be fine too. The girl left silently, but years later he still continues to send letters through the guild. The heroine is not ready to read the messages. I would like to apologize one day, but for now, this is the best option. The girl hopes that it won't be too late. The leg went so well that it's worth preparing for the second part of the original. Due to the novel seeking to kill Daphne, she promised herself to develop powers to protect everyone around her. While the lady is keeping memories, you need to come up with something. Information must be used wisely. In the second part, Maria and her brother go to Oswald to investigate the dungeons. It was there that the girl revealed her identity and entered the academy. Before the Empire, the city where they stayed was mentioned. The lady doesn't remember what exactly happened. Screams are heard from the Colosseum. This formation seems somehow familiar, and the lady remembers that there was some kind of knight next to Coronis all the time. The brunette saved a child in the Colosseum, and that man swore to be her knight. Now the memories are restored. The blonde only remembers that it was a girl 3 or 4 years older. This is quite enough to find her. If Daphne makes friends with the right person first, her chances will increase significantly. This is exactly what is needed. The main goal is to gain connections and develop skills, and also go to Oswald, where the desired academy is located. The adventure begins with the rescue of a local knight who remained in the Colosseum, where the heroine ended up with her brother. The baby does not want to listen or see all this horror. If the right person wasn't there, she would never have come. The first battle begins. The announcer announces it, and 2 people with some kind of weapon come onto the stage. The girl has prepared herself, but everything that is happening seems too cruel. People are dying one by one, and popping noises are heard all around. I had to be patient, but it seems that everything is too confusing, so the lady will return with nothing. Another couple enters the stage. It seems that the last fight is still a must-see. The girl with red hair seems quite familiar. The fight will be between the fallen aristocrat Fleur and the axe-wielding man Logien. The axe is clearly stronger than the sword, and if you look from the stands, the warrior is clearly in no better position because he can easily die. Obviously, people wouldn't come if the fights were boring. All that remains is to shut up and watch what is happening from afar. Fleur deftly ducks to get it done. The man, on the other hand, falls to the ground with a crash. Even Rika became interested in what was happening. Virgo fights without even using a weapon because it serves her as something unimportant. After the tournament ended, Daphne came to the deputy. Fleur is a battle slave, so you must first get the owner's permission. Ricardo heard that ordinary mercenaries were involved. Because of the war, combat slaves appeared, but they are of no use because they only know how to fight. Such people are killed when they become useless. Everyone wants to live, but no one asks about this anymore. The girl's owner is away on business, but they can make things easier. The young man clearly hints that he wants to get some money. Approaching one of the cages where the fighters are kept, the man calls out to Fleur. Visitors came to her, so there is no need to hide in a dark corner. A girl with red hair comes out into the light. She asks in surprise who it could be, looking forward through the bars. The baby wanted to talk, so she asks for a meeting. They rudely refuse her because they don't even know each other. The woman does not like it here, but she is not in the cage of her own free will. She was an aristocrat, but she lost all her funds. The entire family was executed for hatred of the imperial family, and the head of the Colosseum ransomed Fleur with the condition that she would be a slave. It was expensive, but everyone is willing to pay for the opportunity to see something. The heroine wants to take the knight with her. She will most likely have to give at least 100,000 gold. Rika asks about the main thing because he is ready to pay, but a voice from the cage asks him not to do this. She doesn't need anything. Upon arriving home, Daphne remained sulky. Lennox just inquired, but found out that the baby didn't get what she wanted. The girl found what she was looking for, but the man did not want to go anywhere with her. The fallen aristocrat is the best in the Colosseum. If the maiden is needed so badly, you can ask the trade guild for help, but the blonde understands that Fleur must go of her own free will. The woman went through difficulties, but no one wants her to suffer even more. Tomorrow there will be attempt number 2. The heroine is not sure that everything will be fine, but she is sure that she can convince. The gift of persuasion was always present. In the original, Maria destroys the Colosseum and saves Fleur. It said that the girl wanted to get out, but now she was refusing. The heroine tries to understand what is happening, but it does not become clearer. Most likely there is a hidden reason. Tomorrow the girl promises that she will go herself and will even get permission from Chloe. She will take Kiki with her, who will help if anything happens. Ricardo takes a box out of his pocket. He gives the gift, although, in fact, he intended to do this much later. This is a magical thing created by combining the abilities of the brothers. They look like ordinary earrings, but they can be used to contact Lennox. If anything happens, my sister will be able to call for help. Most likely, nothing will happen, but you need to save it just in case. The next morning, many people gathered in the Colosseum again. The lady is surprised every time that so many people like to watch battles. There must be a good reason why the girl decided to stay there. She couldn't just say that. Another fighter comes forward. The day before he was not visible, but now he appears in front of the others all in black. The fight begins, and this time Fleur also comes out, who always seems to remain as the last opponent. The attack begins almost immediately after the two stop glaring at each other. One of the swords flies at the announcer. It's a draw, which doesn't bode well for Fleur this time. Daphne met the eyes of that mysterious man. In the evening of the same day, the blonde again came into the corridor with the cages. This is all to meet a friend and try to convince her. It seems the woman is worried that she didn't come out the best this time. She must defend her title, or something terrible will happen. This time the lady came with a slightly different question. She noticed that almost all opponents use weapons, but the red-haired girl tries not to do so. She doesn't like splashes of blood, which only get in the way and then stain her clothes. If she goes with Daphne, she won't see anything like this again. Benedito nods, but reminds her that she is one of those stubborn people who always achieves everything, so she has no right to lag behind. The girl leaves but thinks about why it is so important to maintain the title of the strongest. That guy took it seriously. The same warrior from the Colosseum appears on the way. He stops, but then just calmly walks forward, saying that nothing is needed. Kiki hides her head. Apparently he had a nightmare, or that man in black really scared the kid. Fleur's opponent himself called Daphne, but said nothing. Perhaps he's trying to convey a hidden message. After many days, nothing happened. The redhead refused over and over again, asking how long this could last. Handing out a chocolate bar, the lady asks if her new friend wants to eat it. She doesn't seem to want to hear anything at all. The girl does not understand what they want from her. If they just want to buy it, then it's better to make a deal with the head of the Colosseum. Concerns about the slave's opinion should be dispelled. It seems as if this is really important to the girl, so she doesn't give up. The heroine does not want to act against Fleur's will. This is not an acceptable solution, so you need to get consent from her herself. Once upon a time, they killed the defeated, and that is why the maiden refuses blows with a sword so as not to end her life. Daphne heard that the red-haired woman was a knight, and noble people like her do not tolerate senseless killings. The knight raises his sword to protect his master. Now the lady thinks that she is being mocked because of her race. In fact, the blonde just likes Fleur's nature. If she agrees to go with her, they will promise her something. The Virgo will not have to fight in meaningless battles, and she, like a knight, will raise weapons only to protect the owner. The woman could not protect anyone, neither the kingdom nor the family, but in this case, she will be able to protect the new mistress. The heroine offers to go with her. The girl needs to think things over. The gentleman will return in a week, and then everything can be discussed in more detail. On the street, the young lady meets that same fighter again. Kiki overreacts again as she lunges straight at him. The man says that everything is fine, even if the fox is quite stubborn and jumps into his arms. He offers to walk the lady home. They went to the hotel where Benedito lives. She is embarrassed that everything turned out this way because she raised the fox cub on her own. The couple finally reached a tall building. The blonde takes the baby to her place, saying that she will thank him a little later. One of the servants asks why some impudent man with a suspicious mask is pursuing the heiress of the trade guild. He just walked her home. The brunette heard that the Beneditos were staying at the estate, and apparently the little heir was standing in front of him. As a thank you, the lady can recommend the man to the head of the guild because he wants to help with security. The little girl didn't even see her friend's face, so she can't do anything. He hurriedly takes off his mask, asking if this would be better. The face is very reminiscent of Ragnar, who has been dead for a long time. The eyes are different, but overall the features are somewhat similar. The young man says that his name is Nas, and his age is 17, the same as Fleur. She hoped, but nothing happened, because this is not Sherbold. He is a free mercenary who has good skills. The girl saw him at the tournament, but then she wanted to go to security. It is difficult for a mercenary without a master to get into Oswald. The heroine nods, promising that she will do everything in her power. Chloe goes outside, noticing her daughter. She wanted to introduce them and therefore introduces the head of the guild and this person. The young man immediately says something goodbye and leaves. Even Benedito remarks that he looked like Rara. It is impossible for the dead to appear before the living in such an image as if nothing had happened. The red-haired one promised to think about it, but for now, the lady has the right to walk around the square of Jaxid, where they were staying. Sitting at the table, the heroine once again notices Nas. He seems to be stalking her, hoping that he can convey something. The world is small, but the question arises what a man is doing there. It's worth approaching or asking directly, but it's hard to find the strength. Kiki behaves strangely, so it is clear that he would not approach someone unfamiliar. Approaching, the lady hands over a mug in gratitude for yesterday. They switch to you. Daphne repaid the kindness, so she has every right to do so. She introduces her name. The young man takes a sip and blinks his eyes in surprise. This is a chocolate drink that Benedito brought for a reason. A child should not wander around the city completely alone. The knight promises that he will accompany his friend. Naz did this in order to protect the baby. Rumors have already reached about what is happening in the Colosseum. A small child comes every day, inviting the best fighter to leave with her. Turning around, the beauty notices a strange man in a hood. He is still standing in one place and not moving. Rara is no longer alive, and the lady is still trying to cling to stupid hope and does not notice anything around her. Daphne was escorted to the hotel. We are asked not to walk around the city alone, and as a sign of gratitude this can be done. The lady needs a new plan. When the girl comes to the woman, she hands over the food that she specially bought. The red-haired girl decided to stay there so nothing would work out. She starts screaming that she's tired of everything and begs him not to come again. The blonde nods. She understands that tomorrow will be the last time, and then she will simply give up. Fleur sits down on the ground. She picked up the food she had thrown away and heard a question about that girl. Nobody else will come. The woman should go alone, but she cannot. This is most likely due to the man starting to cough. Xezus doesn't have long left, but there's no point in worrying about it, because everything will be fine. On the day when the lady appeared there for the first time, many laughed, but the man immediately realized that the aristocrat was a real knight. Without her friend's guidance, the lady would have died long ago. You can't just leave your savior in a cage like that? The conversation is interrupted by a rough male voice. The girl immediately turns around, recognizing him as her owner. The head of the Colosseum, Emil, smiles, saying that they have not seen each other for a long time. His tone does not bode well for either of them. Axes has not performed for a long time, so he must go on stage. They agreed that the lady would participate and take his place, but she did not fight well as she promised, because the last fight ended in a draw. Many complaints were made due to the fault of the beauty. The people are tired, but the knight begs to fight in a duel, and so do the men. Nothing will come of it because the young man will fight against his ward. They will go out together and fight until one of them dies. Fleur doesn't want to fight to the death, but the brunette assures him that everything will be fine. She still has her whole life ahead of her. If the red-haired girl had told the truth to that girl, perhaps things would have become easier. Instead, the lady was stubborn. She couldn't ask a child to save 2 lives. If there is another chance, then the girl will tell everything. At just the right moment, the blonde appeared as if out of nowhere, asking why her friend was crying. The man from the cage screams for the baby to free Fleur as soon as possible so things don't get worse. It seems they are close, but since Exes asked to pick up his friend, something definitely happened and it's not good. The blonde asks to tell her what is happening, but she herself does not notice how a man appears behind him, swinging a bat. Her head hurts a lot, and the heroine herself is behind bars. Sometimes courage comes at a cost. The owner of the Colosseum tried to get the girl into the cage. Emile comes out of the shadows. He had heard a rumor that someone was trying to take Fleur, and he did not expect to see such a young lady. A wonderful product fell into my hands. The blonde will sell the girl at the next auction to some aristocrat. Fleur apologizes because she should have agreed much earlier. It's still early because the girl was going to meet her brothers at 11. The heroine foresaw this outcome, but now they need to quickly get to the exit, which is on the other side. For several days in a row, the blonde was stalked by a strange man, so she said that she would come for the last time, thereby causing action. The red-haired woman swears that her friend acted so recklessly. She should have thought about what was happening. If the beauty can't give up fighting, then the baby will just stop everything so she can leave. The heroine wants to hear the whole story. She will take them both, and Zizou will find a good doctor who will cure him. First, you need to get out. The castle is locked with a magic key without which nothing can be opened. After a few seconds, everything opened up. This was done using a magic potion that neutralizes magic. Kiki jumps out first and starts sniffing the ground. He will lead them all to the exit of the Colosseum. At this rate, you can meet with security, and that's exactly what happened. The Virgin did an excellent job using a sleeping spell. This is the first time the lady has used it herself, but it worked perfectly. Now the mercenaries will sleep for a very long time. Lennox's voice is heard in the earring. They found the door, but cannot open it because the mechanism is in a different place. Ricardo promises to get them out with magic. They must wait a little before this happens. Frank is worried. Emile most likely already found out that the couple got out and could attack right next to the door. The owner actually appeared in the distance. He is raging because the cage was opened using some kind of potion. In any case, the shackles will not allow anyone to go further. These are magical bonds that are only visible when you press a button. The blonde notices his fighters. He thought that Daphne was just a cute child, but it turned out that this was not true at all. The girl quickly runs away while she has the opportunity to get out. She is grabbed by Naz, who pulls her body around the corner. The baby was there for her own reasons, but thanks that she was still saved from what could have happened. There is a bump in the hair on the head from the blow. Most likely, one of the guards harmed her while she was running away. The man seems to be worried, but it doesn't matter yet. The lady goes out to meet her brothers. It seems that the young man sees the girl as a hamster because he will not allow her to wander into dark places on her own. She's not going to run away because there are people left who need to be saved before it's too late. They should be fine. Before heading out, the young man suggests going into the owner's office and not leaving empty-handed. In the office, a man holds various magical objects that can also be used to open the shackles on his legs. Dispelling magical bonds is more difficult than it seems, given that there is a lot more stuff in the office. The search is interrupted by a rough voice asking who is there. The door opens sharply. Emile notices the girl, rejoicing that he is rubbing, and the guards will catch her and send her back to the cage. A battle begins, with Naz participating first. He manages to strike one after another and harm the owner. The ceiling is falling in. A huge hole appears there, from which 2 figures are visible on the roof. These are Daphne's brothers, who have already arrived right on time. They agreed to meet and realized that her sister needed help. Ricardo notices the same device with a button on the table. It can remove any shackles, so this is already a plus for saving slaves. Fleur can't be taken away, but the brothers don't think so. The magician makes the button turn into ashes, which means that there are no more shackles. The master of the mage tower must be able to dispel simple spells. He picks up a lot of stones around him. The young man is about to cooperate and give the girl away, but it's too late for that. When the bomb planted in the Colosseum explodes, the slaves will flee on their own. Emile kidnapped Benedito's heiress and wanted to sell her. He simply begins to make excuses, even if this makes no sense. The brothers returned for Fleur and Zizus, but they were found unconscious. The first thing they did was take the victims to the infirmary. The owner of the Colosseum was soon detained. The girl heard that everyone was just waiting for a reason to lock him up in prison. Everything ended quite well. Even the redhead woke up. She was immediately reassured and assured that everything was fine. Axis is in the next room. The couple didn't know if Benedito would return, so they decided to clean up on their own. The girl took with her the sword with which the knight entered the arena. He's probably important. Daphne apologizes for hurting her. Nothing bad happened, because the story ended well for all of them. For this, we should be grateful only to this kind girl. If the offer is still valid, then the lady wants to become a faithful knight who will protect her mistress from all adversities. The girl did not think that someone like Fleur would swear allegiance. She's not even an aristocrat, but that's exactly what she was counting on.